So, what do you mean every time you see a Jobby compilation? Are there that many Jobby compilations out in the wild? I don't look this stuff up. Are there psychos out there that actually have compiled every Jobby moment? And in which case, has anybody done a proper Swivel compilation? Now that's a question for the chat here. Has anybody done a proper Swivel compilation? Because Lord knows I'm never gonna do it. So one of you guys, take it. I pass the responsibility to you. You will not get paid for it. So, but that is my challenge. That is my challenge to you.
If you insist.
Far rotation right here, thigh swivel. So don't try looking for it in nature. Where's the calf swivel? Where's the calf swivel? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where's the calf? Oh my god! Arms. Got a swivel, bicep swivel here. He's got good waist articulation. Legs, you got a swivel right here. Got a thigh swivel. This button right here. Yeah! Can rotate a full 360. Arms can also rotate a full 360. Swivel at the elbow. Thigh swivel that goes a full 360. Head, it's on a swivel. Can rotate forward and back. He's got a bicep swivel. The head is on a swivel. It can swivel here, swivel here, swivel here. It can rotate at this point. If you rotate the wrist at this point, so she's got a swivel here.
A swivel here.
Swivel here. The head can rotate 360. Arms can rotate forward and back. All of them can move their arms and their tails. But only these two can move their legs. But Kiryu has head articulation and waist articulation. Can't move these guns out of his face though. His head can rotate 360 and his arms can do the same. So he's got the same amount of... And his arms can rotate 360. They have a swivel in his pie hole. And he's got a really weak swivel on his neck. If this had been a ball joint, it would have been way better. You got a really... in my lifetime were really weak when it came to posing their legs. And when I first did a 360 on this guy's legs, I was... In addition to his wrist posability, he could rotate his arms 360. He's got a swivel at the elbow, a waist swivel. Got a swivel at the calf, action. The head can swivel side to side. And you got a swivel, he's got a thigh swivel. But I guess if you keep his wrist rotated like that, it doesn't look too bad. And hey, Slug has a waist joint, you know, clicky joint. And it usually plugs into something which allows it to swivel here, so it can swivel here. It's got a swivel at the elbow, and a wrist swivel that I'm not swivel, and even rotate here, but also can rotate here. And a swivel below the head. But whatever. Swivel here, swivel here, swivel here, swivel here, swivel here, and a swivel here. You get the points. Swivel here, swivel here. The head can rotate 360. The shoulders are technically on ball joints, but they act more like a swivel. Swivel here, swivel here. Can rotate 360. Rotate at the arm. Swivel here. They got wrist articulation. Waist swivel. A tight swivel here. Swivel here. But the swivel takes these shoulder thingies with it. At least you can rotate it here and here. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here. And you get some spinning drill action. What the fucking... Swivel here on the head. Arms can rotate 360. Swivel here. Rotating wrist, which is nice. Waist swivel. Swivel here. Okay. The head has a swivel here and down and swivel. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel at the wrist with some hip swivel and a ball joint at the prob. Rotate at the leg. Swivel here. Swivel here. The head can swivel here. The base of the neck, which makes the swivel redundant. Swivel here. swivel here, swivel, and head is on a ball joint that acts more like a swivel. Rotate here, swivel here, but he's got a swivel here. Waist swivel, using the swivel. Arms can rotate, swivel here, waist swivel, swivel. Swivels just don't cut it in this case. The arm over here. Left arm has a wrist that swivels. The upper body also swivels. It's a bit loose though. Swivel at the knee. Very limited rotation of the shoulders. And you also get a little bit of rotation here. Rotation at this point. Swivel here. Waist swivel. Swivel here. Swivel here. Turn the arm around. Twist his legs inward. And if you swivel the wrist, swivels here. Swivel at the head. Swivel here. Swivel at the wrist. Swivel here. Swivel at the head. Swivel here. Swivel here. Waist swivel. Swivel here. Swivel at the head. Swivel. Swivel here. Swivel here. And they can rotate. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here. It's a rotate the hip. Swivel at the head. Hair and can rotate. Limb opens up the head for an extreme swivel. If you rotate the peg, you could swivel here. Swivel here, swivel here. And if you rotate the peg, swivel here, swivel here. Swivel at the head, rotation, and a swivel here. Swivel here, swivel. If you rotate the peg, swivel here, swivel here, swivel here. And a swivel here? 100 out of 10, best toy. Rotate it to reveal his enhancements. No added swivels though. 0 out of 100, workability any good? Do you like swivel? Swivel here, swivel here. If you rotate the pen, swivel here. Should I mean swivel here? Rotation? Rotate at the shoulder. Very carefully swivel, please don't. I know this is a deal breaker for some of you guys, but there's no swivels. No swivels. Ball joints are better anyway. Swivel, swivel, swivel. Swivel at the head. Ball joint, swivel. Ball joint, swivel. Swivel. Swivel here. Posability gets a solid 10 swivels out of 10. Rotation. Rotation at the hips. But something's missing. What's this? What's this? The swivels everywhere. You're right. Swivel here. Rotation. Backwards movement. Swivel. Elbow. And the trigger finger, 3-finger split. Waist swivel. In and out. Deliciously clicky joints, knee, and the world's first ever super pivot. Prime doesn't have truck tits for nothing. And he's got rubber tires. That just takes this guy to a whole nother level. Rotation, swivel here, swivel here. I hope you enjoyed those brief swivel moments, because that's all you're gonna get. Japan knows that we need more ball joints, more accessories, more swivels, for fuck's sake! Swivel. Swivel. Me. These little puffballs keep getting in the way. Huge, and her head moves all over the dang place. Figma be without the proper swivel. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here. And of course, swivel, 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 swivel. He's 100% swivel. Once more, the Swivels will rule the galaxy. And we shall have possibility. Swivel here, swivel here, swivel here. Very fucking crisp. The swivels are broken. But all ball joints can be swivels if you just have faith. For the love of swivel. My reviews. I'm not that smart to come up with those swivel jokes on the spot. Sex jokes and swivels and rotate. And the swivel. 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 This figure's pretty big. Due to the inexplicable popularity of my swivel gag, just swivel here. It's funny, everyone loves it. Swivel, fucking swivel here. Well, our new program will be called Swiveltopia. That's the best I could come up with. Now what Swiveltopia essentially means, if the viewer does this, whenever they do this, fucking bad! Copyrighted! you first, you open up the head. You see this shit? That's me. That's all me right there.
Oh God, what did I do? I don't think we should. I completely agree with you.
What the fuck's wrong with you? How could you not have agreed to this brilliant idea? This such a great name to Swiveltopia? Whew. What a name. How could you even mistake our intent for malicious? All we were trying to do was bring the world together. We were trying to change the world, man. You guys are fucking idiots. We love you. You're our subscribers, but you're fucking idiots. Fucking hell. You know, we were just trying to do the little thing of taking over the world. I don't see the big deal in that. You know, everyone wants to take over the world, right? Why won't you let us? Well, we're not good enough for you? Is that it? You just don't get that we're trying to protect our brand. We're trying to protect our brand. Protect our brand. Fucking idiots. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We apologize for our use of language. And for those who don't care about any of this, who, you know, ignorance is bliss, thank you. Thank you for not being informed. And please stay subscribed. We love you. Thank you. George? George, what the fuck's happening? What's happening, George? We're dropping, George! How could we have expected this? It was such a good idea that how could we have expected this backlash? I gotta tell you, George, I didn't quite expect this reaction. Fucking George, we gotta do something about this. We're sorry, okay? We're sorry!
What happens when you swivel too hard?
Sweet nothings in your ear. Hey, happy Valentine's Day. I know most of you are single, but you always got your Uncle Jobby here. Swivel here. Yeah, you like that, huh? Swivel. Ooh, yeah, swivel. Swivel.
Woo! Got some light up features here. Love it. The light's actually coming from... Oops, spoilers. This guy's got some swivels, but not much posability. Swivel here. Swivel! Just a bit shorter than my regular content, and there's not as much swivels. You can unsubscribe now. Fucking live like this anymore! Swivel the pain away. Swivel the pain away. Swivel the pain away.
Swivel-Man, Swivel-Man, does whatever a swivel can. Can he swing through the air? No, he can't. I don't care. Look out! Here comes a Swivel-Man. Is he strong? Listen, chum. He's got radioactive coat.
That's it. This song's not funny anymore. Cut.
Swivel.
Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here. Swivel here.
Oh, the swivels. Oh. Swivel-Man, swivel. What the? If I had to choose between swiveling figures and escaping from my crippling depression, I would burn down my collection any day of the week. And I've got a lot of cheap stuff. Shut up! Where is... You want swivels, baby boy? Yeah, there's your swivels. If you're interested in a little vacation video, leave a comment down below saying swivel here, because that never gets old, right? Swivel for your old Uncle Jobby.
You try to have sex with a swivel? I did.
Did you? Just right up the rectum?
Right up your dick hole.
Or did you like... You know what sounding is, Jobby?
What's that?
Sounding?
What is?
I'll see you next Saturday with a slamming toy review. Hell yeah, Swivels all up in your face. Can't.
Let's move on to my favorite part. Should you even care about what I'm saying? You're just here for the swivels, aren't you? You dirty swivel digger. Swivel. Cancer. Always forget. The swivel is pretty loose. Can't imagine why. Bend. Treads. Swivel. He's got metal shoulders, metal biceps, metal hips, metal swivels. Leave a comment down below for Swivel's sake. This whole assembly severely limits his head posability and... Okay. Swivel! Swivel here! Waist swivel? Gentle swivel. Pretty girl and asking her about her interests, only to find out that her ball joints are floppy and she doesn't even have a thigh swivel. Don't even look at me if you don't have a thigh swivel. Amount of swivels, right? Swivels, please? Oh, thank God. Swivel here! Swivel at the... No swivel here, how about... let's move on. There has to be more swivels, right? Waist swivel! No, there's no swivels here. Oh, no. Where are the swivels? Oh, there's a swivel. No, where's the swivel here? Swivel here, no, swivel here. Swivel here, no swivel. There are no swivel. The hands. But you could always flip this out, twist it. Reposability on this mode. And here's a toast for you guys. And for Swivel. Delicious. Forced meme here. Oh, well, at least she's got a swivel at the head. Swivel here. Dead meme here. And a swivel here. Yes, it's back. I hope you're all only slightly depressed. Swivel here. Tight swivel here. Rotation at the thumb. I mean, he can't flip you off, but he could totally finger your butthole. Now, here we have an underrated joint. Yes, that's a ratcheting waist. Skirt joint, rotate at the hip, legs can spread, swivel here, pivot, and a pivot at the heel. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this moment. Swivel here, swivel here. A really tight thigh swivel that's not really worth swiveling. His right hand has a... His left hand, unfortunately, doesn't have a... Focus, you bitch. His left hand doesn't swivel, so he's constantly doing this cat pose. In other words, this hand needs to go to hell. Waist swivel? Every dollar you contribute helps the swivel ship keep on sailing. Another thing about Gundam kits is that you can't really swivel them the way I'd like. But yeah, here's a swivel. Waist swivel? Of poses. Carefully swivel here. Swivel here. Oh yeah. He can hold quite a lot of poses. Oh god, I said the word. Oh god. Swivel here. Swivel here. No wrist swivel. No waist swivel. And for the climax... I'm done. Deli can't really put the rifle anywhere. Well, that's fine. Just put in his hand his sexy swivel. Ooh, I said the S word. Now, because this is Miguel's kit, I gotta try to restrain myself from being too rough with it. But it's just so... I'll make it through this. I know I said it wouldn't, but it's just... Oh, please.
Now is not the time for swivels. That comes later.
Robot mode. Out comes the precious life force. Oh, swivel here. No way, swivel. Put in my... If the joints were a little tighter, posing this guy would have been a blast. But as it stands, or doesn't, it's kind of a mess that's filled with... And the same articulation you get on the neck. Into my eye. No wrist swivel. And this is where things kind of go to shit. And can we get a swivel here, please? Quite a lot of posability here. Swivel here. See, the thing about model kits is that you had to be really careful when you swivel.
No waist swivel. No thigh swivel. Resolve sexual issues that I have to take out with every toy review. Isn't that obvious by now? There's nothing in my life but swivel. Time again. The part where I get to experience that sweet swivel. Very tight swivel here. I wanna die. Poses. You know I did very well. Bicep swivel. Thigh swivel. And one more. Put in my ass, I mean poses. And that's the only extreme swiveling you're gonna see on this guy, because I don't want to ruin my paint job. That is if I can help it. Gentle swivel here. And of course every ball joint can be... Alright, I gotta come down with that. And that's quite the healthy swivel. Swivel here. But can he... take what I can get. Fake swivel here. Is that what I think it is? Is that... swivel! No bicep swivel. And to deepen my depression, no waist swivel. Ooh, ratcheting swivel. Turret movement. Yes, I sound like your dying grandmother. I'll try my best. That sounded awful. Wrist swivel. Waist. I can't. Just let the meme do it. Oh yeah. Thigh swivel. Knee swivel. This being a solid car, there's no point in talking about the swivels, although you can argue that wheels are swivel. Swivel-less statues, if you're into that garbage, really impressive. But what really gets me about it is its posability. It's definitely nothing fancy, I mean it is just a simple swivel. But no matter what angle you rotate it at, it looks perfect. Ay, ay, ay. Now that is swivel-tastic, this hilarious falling pose. And speaking of pose, and of course you get that knit cap. A little bit of a bicep swivel. Wrist point at the torso, and of course any ball joint can be a swivel. Come spread. And just because you can see his thigh swivel, doesn't mean it's not there. Some of that. Also got Transformers, Gundams, trash. Any eyes on Lunar Toy Store helps them out, and it helps me out because it keeps the swivels coming. Almost makes the loose hips and the loose head tolerable. Not to mention it makes posability a lot more fun. And of course every ball joint. Bicep swivel, elbow swivel. No wrist swivel, fuck off. Head. Swivel at the head. Posable. And of course, the arm posability from the robot is all there. Ball joint at his tiny head. Let's get to the part we've all been waiting for. I know I have because it means the video's almost over. Swivel! Swivel at the wrist. One more. And unfortunately for my sexual frustration, that's it. I'm pretty positive that this video is gonna be swiveling short. And now, what can arguably be called the main event. A slight shoulder swivel at the left elbow, but for some reason not the right. But if you rotate it, a healthy swivel here. Leg, hilt clasp rotates. Unnoticeable thigh swivel. Knees swivel. And who's your... Now what would a masterpiece transformer be without a little bit of that good? I don't recommend you swivel the head this fast and might mess with the light feature. Leave the swiveling to the professionals. Now we can get a little crazy swivel here. Tight swivel at the wrist. Sexy ratcheting swivel. And what would a masterpiece transformer be without the... I already did that segue. And from here it's the same as the robot mode except for no waist swivel. Now what separates this figure from a model kit is the feel of it. The figure just feels more solid than your average high-grade kit. You get an extra V-fin. I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to have a spare. The risk of breaking the V-fin is increased once you start. You know the drill. Swivel here. Thigh swivel. But I reach inside the box and the head immediately falls off. And a huge positive of this guy is that it's extremely posable. Bicep swivel, elbow swivel, and if you rotate it, swivel. But it's extremely loose as thigh swivel, and there's a hole between his legs that you can plug a stand into, which gives you a lot more options for posing, you know what time it is. You can rotate this little switch, and that moves the eyes. That's beautiful. But you get a ball joint at the shield, bicep swivel that should be treated gently, and now I can go crazy. Swivel at the waist, sadly no thigh swivel, limited swivel at the crotch, ball joint at the ankle, and to bring it more in line with the original transformation, no. Swivel. Bicep swivel, ball joint at the wrist, saluting hands the same, no waist swivel, but before I end it all, you can extend the waist, and now, thigh swivel, that's a little loose for my taste. Now that I've got my rocks up, this thing is just really fun to wave around. That is until the waist detaches and it gets floppy, but you do get an unintentional as for posability. Let's move on. But when I come back... which I painted metallic gray and... But with all that being said... I must have run away. No bicep swivel. But for some reason, it's extremely tight, which prevents me from... Due to the fragility of the model kit, I shouldn't, but I must have swivel here. 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 Swivel! A 5-minute video? I mean, there was so much left to talk about. What was the creativity? The skits? The sex jokes? What about the swivels? Okay, look, I get it. I must have swivel here. I get that. But even if this wasn't the end, where the fuck would you go? You tucked yourself into a corner, didn't you? I bet you ran out of lube too, you bastard. Special thanks to Spike Spencer, the English voice actor for Shinji Ikari, for liking my tweet. I'm not sure what you heard in my performance, but it's not as good as yours. Ray? Now the moment I've been waiting for. Look, I'm really sorry, but I gotta do what I gotta do. Swivel! And I can rotate, bicep swivel, wrist swivel, tight thigh swivels, and also a waist. Wait, is that a swivel? Wait, there it is. Now let's get to the arguably weakest part of the figure. Fuck no, I'm not gonna swivel this. There's wires in there. Bicep swivel. But you know what I say about ball joints. They're just the more unlimited. Absolutely no posability at the waist, don't even try. Ball joint at the hips, which of course can... It's a shame that there's really no posability in the wrist. But at least I get a... And of course every ball joint... Elbow swivel. Another elbow swivel. Swivel at the wrist. And despite not having a right hand...
Groovy.
Tight swivel at the waist. Tight thigh swivel that's not as tight as I thought. Oh. This guy is floppy as fuck. It feels like one of those slippy things that you get from the gift shop of museums. The ones that you can't really get a handle on. You know, like fuck those things, man. And fuck the floppiness of this figure. It's still completely workable, though. It's fine. It's just a hassle. It's a hassle to pose. Now, I did say pose, didn't I? No, fuck you, accessories. And now we can finally get into but if you rotate it, limited thigh swivel, Metal Garurumon is really solid. The joints are nice and tight, and it's really fun to pose. And you heard right, I said pose! Rotation, and this ball joint in particular makes a nice legs as the front leg cutter. Ball joint Digivolve 2! Swivel! I enjoy Metal Garurumon more than War Greymon, because in terms of character and design, I prefer War Greymon, but with that beautiful painting and sculpting, the sturdy and tight joints. But for now, let's talk about something a little less disappointing. Swivel here, swivel here. There should be a thigh swivel, but it's so tight that it doesn't matter. The joints are surprisingly tight, and the plastic is tough and durable. Just mind the horns. So it really surprised me that this figure was a joy to... And every ball joint, of course, can be a... And every ball's swivel here. And I don't even have to say it at this point. And basically, my one major complaint was washed away. Then let's get into the good stuff. What am I doing? Why am I going to do what I'm about to do? Is there a point when this running gag stops running, becomes old, crippled, withered away? Do I swivel not because I genuinely find it funny, but because it's what the people expect? It's not a JobbytheHong video if it doesn't have a swivel in it, right? We're all gonna die anyway. Swivel! But it is enough to pull off one of Hello Kitty's iconic poses. The hair on this figure just seems too symmetrical and unnatural looking. But the upside to it is that it allows for great posability. It's too early for that. It has tighter, chunkier joints. As I mentioned before, this figure is way more solid than this figure, making it infinitely more fun to swivel here, some swivel at the wrist, and if you rotate. Of course, the posability is limited by the claws, tight ball joint at its chest, and this ball joint allows for some degree of contractually obligated swivel here. Swivel at the ankle. Be useless without some good old-fashioned bicep me. Swivel at the wrist. swivel at the thigh, yeah. But if you're as clever and as desperate as I am, you could say the rotary blades are just one big second person. As for posability on this, and that's all displayed on this included cart. I'm a little disappointed it doesn't have real wheels, but fuck it doesn't matter. So all the accessories that I previously mentioned are necessary to get the most out of this figure, because without the accessories, the posability on this figure, not that good. Swivel here, and the swivel at the watch wrist, but not on the right wrist. Tie joint at the waist that barely qualifies as a swivel. And that's it. God damn, this is great. So all of these accessories, from the hands to the fire, they wouldn't look half as cool if it wasn't for this kit's fantastic posability. You know, I've had some up and downs with the swivel joke, but this is just one of those figures with such great posability that I just have to stop myself and too much? Possible. And now, at the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, I have cancer. And that's really all the head can do. I wish it was on a ball joint. Swivel, tight rotation, category 4, a category 5, and somewhat of a... Despite the issues I have with the figure so far, at least I can get some satisfaction. Bicep swivel, wrist swivel, no waist swivel, fuck up, thighs swivel. And of course every ball joint can be a swivel. The least I can do is pretend to be enthusiastic about this below average figure with average posability. So in that case, swivel! Missile launcher still works, and you could rotate the... it's not fun anymore. This looks pretty terrible, but I don't see how they could have fixed this. Like Jobby without his swivel. Now hold on, he's got more accessories to talk about. So before we get into the swivels, a wingless death scythe hell is a sad death scythe hell. But I gotta admit, it makes it easier to swivel. Bicep swivel that should not be swiveled too hard. Swivel. And of course a gentle swivel. But because a model kit is easily deconstructed, now the best way I can describe the feel of this figure is a Bandai licensed Figma figure. She's got a similar amount of detail and a comparable amount of little bit of the wrist, but if you rotate the peg and it allows a degree of the waist has a really tight oh, and also was. And on the subject of poses, it's pretty much the rotation at the joint, rotation, wrists, another. This figure is so fun to pose. And speaking of wait, I just didn't break so easily. Even back then, I was into excessive but because of the shitty super glue job, it can no longer do that, and my Epion is doomed to forever whack people with his sword. The Death Scythe Hell looks kinda try-hard. You know what else is a bit forced and try-hard? Swivel. Is the microphone fucking careful with that bicep swivel? And of course, a thigh swivel that's sturdier than I thought. Completely unnecessary feature, but highly appreciated. Now, a great thing about this figure is technically his head is on a ball joint, but there's no head pivot to speak to. Now, aside from the paint chipping, I noticed another consistent issue with Masterpiece figures. Can we please have an ankle swivel? I'm really hoping they include this feature with future Beast Wars figures because goddamn it's cool. His eyes aren't the only things that could move around, and some side to side, very tight bicep swivel, and his back legs have the same posability as the robot have. So this guy has a decent amount of accessories, but I wish there was more so I can pad out the length of this video. Now I've been quivering with anticipation this whole time because this figure is very... The arm design makes the wrist hard to swivel, but I'll try my best. Careful with that swivel, you don't want to chip the paint. Same thing about that swivel. What am I fighting for? And the feet are on the complicated system of ball joint here. Not actually be able to fold out, but at least they can move up and down. Rotation here, rotation at the sheet, and let's not forget a swivel. Swivel. Every ball joint can be up, and of course a rotation at the crotch, swivel at the music.
the vibration on my ass. You've got me addicted. But if you wanted some show-accurate aerial poses, you could always take this included stand and shove it right up his thunderbolt set. An amazing concept and it's executed pretty well. But there's a part of me that wants a chain with more posability other than us. And speaking of poses, hold on, I'll try. And now can we finally? Nope. And finally, after all of arm, biceps, a wrist, swivel, a thigh swivel that's so tight that I don't understand how it got like this and pack it. Joint rotation. As for the rest of the figures, swivel joint, and of course every ball joint can be a rotate that peg and you can get red swivel. A bit more of the good stuff, but it's not impossible. Making some poses a little awkward. Now I know I said poses, but we're not gonna swing it there. Very cool that it spins, I highly appreciate it. Admit though, you could get some pretty cool fishing poses with this thing. I said poses again, but this time it's for out swivel here. And here we got a swish at the way. Dare to believe you can swim. Oh, at least the figure has pretty good elbow. Red swivel. Also no waist swivel. As for the rest of his, yeah, that was all his accessories. Sucks, right? What? Swivel here. Come on, swivel. No! That's all his posability. Not like this. No. Now it wouldn't be a proper Transformers figure if it didn't have any of that joint. Of course, every ball joint is embedded with a swivel. Swivel fuck. Now the model kit is nice and solid. The joints are stiff, which means you gotta be careful when you pose. I bring this up because the leg joints on this kit have become loose over time, so I have to wonder if it's gonna happen to this kit. Maybe I'll just refrain from posing your legs too much. I get an angled stand part, but that makes it harder to pose. Swivels. Every ball joint can be a swivel if you're cool enough. Bit of a tight waist swivel. So was this figure worth the wait? Can ball joints be swivel? But now let's talk about something that's a little more than alright. Fantastic. Ball joint at the wrist, and the swivel is very limited, so this figure's mostly ball joints. And I shouldn't have to say at this point that every ball joint... What the video suggests, this figure is a crossover between Transformers and PlayStation. Two of my favorite things ever. Besides that and that. I mean, a lot of the figure is solid, the legs are so tight you could hear it. Choice. Also, the wrists are too loose. Now, as much as I don't enjoy handling the figure, how could I resist a good biceps swivel at the wrist? Swivel! Another squeaky swivel. And of course, every ball joint can be a fuck. That woulda, coulda, shut up. Let's get to something that I can't complain about. Bicep swivel, elbow swivel at the wrist. And if you rotate the peg, rotation here, and this ball joint can very much be a swivel here. And a... I already made that joke. And something else I want to nitpick. His neck is weird, but I guess if his neck wasn't designed like this, he wouldn't have as much range in his posability. It's too early. Phil finally got that turtle suit, so all of Orakusaki's accessories gives him a lot of playability. And adding to that playability is some deep... Listen! Posability. Swivel here. At the waist. So finally, in order of turtle suit. Despite this guy's stability problems, it's not gonna prevent me from swiveling. Yes, it will. Rotation at the arm. Careful. Wrist. Careful. Swivel at the foot. Shifting hips. Let me swivel, please. And speaking of moving all over the place, this is where I have some major complaints. The waist swivels and the thigh swivels are way too loose, and it almost feels as if they can snap at any moment. This makes the figure feel less solid than it looks, and makes it less fun to play with. What a damn. I understand that there's gonna be some quality control differences between Takara and third-party stuff, but even the DX9 Gavolt has a ratcheting waist swivel. This figure could have benefited from something like that, but if the loose waist is too much to handle, you could always lock it in with this tab. No more waist posability, but it feels just a bit more solid. The thighs are still shit, but at least you have a wait a minute, but individual fingers is not all this figure has. Rotation at the arm, and bicep swivel. Swivel at the wrist. Rotation at the thumb. Of course, there's that loose waist swivel that I should be careful. Fucking loose thigh swivel. And something that most Masterpiece Transformers don't even have. Ankle swivel. Get your shit together. Mobility on this guy is truly fantastic. It's just a shame about that waist and thighs. On this mode is basically the same as the robot, except the shoulders don't move out as far, and the head is limited in its
not too much. At least it rolls good. Like tucking in the arms. However, this is not show accurate. The original looked much worse. Fortunately for me, you could reposition the arms to get them into a more show accurate mode. The figure is definitely a nostalgic treat. If the figure was more solid with the waist swivels, the thigh swivels, and every ball joint can be a shoulder pad is a little too loose for my life, which allows for a bicep swivel, no waist, thighs, and every ball joint can swivel. And for no other reason at all besides it's my channel, let's talk about his that far. Rotation at the arms out, bicep swivel, wrist swivel, which is also amazing, and he's got no waist swivel. Why you got the blue bomby like swivel? But credit where it's due. Wrist swivel, fuck yeah. Let's until you flip him over. But if it really bothered you, you might be able to turn his head around. No, there's no escape. And I love how no point in talking about posability, but if I do some mental gymnastics, I can consider the wheel a
that far. Rotation right here and at the wrist. Because they're connected to a ball joint, he has a lot of rotation. Legs, they can move about, they can move a full 360. On the calf, which is very unrealistic. Ball joint at the ankle. Twist his waist around. Ball joint can look side to side. Can move a little bit. These fins out of the way any way you can. Do from here is that you have to fold these arms down, but this thing usually doesn't allow any clearance to do. Never mind. Yeah, when it came out of the package, it was pretty hard to bend this down like that, but I guess it's easy now. That's a way to get clearance. So from here, you twist his arm like that. And there you have his left hand. So you do the same for the other arm. Head up and turn it around.
Get limited ball joint movement at his arms. You get an elbow joint. And when I first did a 360 on this guy's legs, I was really disappointed. Now, while I do stand by that, I will say that if there wasn't this whole business going on, and just a little bit more posability, the NECA figure would be the superior Godzilla figure by far. And while I love this figure, there's just one thing that I'm a bit bothered by. I mean, what kind of wrist design is this? You know, I think these hands were originally meant to fold into the leg. I mean, it's hollow. Rotate at the hip. However, it is possible to get them flat on the ground. I mean, the lack of flames on this truck gives him a more dignified and wiser feel, which is how I picture Optimus. Keep the flames for a character like Hot Rod. Who gives a dimmy dang about the flames anymore? Let's do some size comparisons.
So after playing with the drill car for a while, I'm still having good thoughts on the figure. So on to the main event. The robot posability.
Rotate, 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 rotate in it. But the treads don't move. Freaking awesome. But the wheels don't roll that well. 0 out of 10. If you fold in his arms claw out instead of claw in, you get more waist posability in his Gaogai Gar mode. Let's continue. Rotate. This guy actually has some posability. The treads don't move, but you got these cheap plastic wheels. And you get some plastic wheels that lets it roll. What really sends this guy over the edge for me? These are actual rubber tires. I know it's not really a big deal, but it just adds so much quality to the figure. Not to mention it rolls extremely well. For the best results, I recommend rolling it on a hard surface. Rotation at the arm, basically a high-speed tank. So it might not look the best, but it is pretty fun to play with. You turn his head around during transformation, pretty much posability, it's a car what you expect, size alternate modes ever. It's sleek but also beefy, so it could go fast while crushing smaller cars along the way. Forgive is this figure's lack of sorta, and that's all you get for the head. Rotation at the arm, bicep no, wrist with no. Technically there's no waist swivel, but you could kind of fake one by opening up his ass and doing it that way. I gotta get my fix somehow. Rotation at the legs, that's about it unless you count the flapping wings, but now I'm just getting desperate. And look, I get it. Not every figure's posability could be on par with Figma, and sometimes design compromises have to be made for transformation. Also, more joints probably cost more money to produce, I get it. But come on, No bicep swivel, no thigh swivel, no wrist swivel? I'm just asking for the bare minimum here. Now I know this is a hot topic for some of you, but debate it in the comments. I would like to know about this important discussion. This is an important conversation that we need to have. Hashtag minimum swivels. Let's do some size. Rotation at the back leg. When the transformation from robot to dinosaur, not only does the figure lose some swivels, but as for the main figure itself, it doesn't really need the Figma stand to stand up on its own, but it doesn't hurt to plug it in. And the stand has a joint rotation, and the figure itself has us. The head can look at the cap, and I look up that far and look down that far. Rotation at the cap, and I gotta be honest with myself, it's actually allows for a rotation. Bicep swivel down, and if you rotate the peg, ball joint at the waist, which allows for a very healthy thighs. But before I forget, ball joint at the ankle, which of course doubles as a swivel. Technically there's a ball joint at the hip, but if we get her back to normal, you'll find that she has a good amount of use caution when swiveling your model kit. Shoulder pads have a swivel, which allows for rotation out. Bicep swivel so tight that it's not even worse. Swivel? What the fuck? Maybe I'll have better luck here, which allows them to pit. And a true blue rotating, and let me just strip them so I can get really into it. Rotation at the moves, swivel here, ball joint, and can rotate out of the way. Swivel at the wrist. I always hated this hand design, and this is no exception. And speaking of hate, this guy's got no waist swivel, which in itself is not a bad thing, but here's 2 reasons why it's shit. First of all, masterpiece is the key word here, and a figure that calls itself a masterpiece has to have a waist swivel. And second of all, if you extend it, there it is. What the fuck? This doesn't even play into the transformation. It's like it's there to taunt me. Pretty good thigh swivelers. At the foot. The posability on this guy is decent, but does not meet the standard of the masterpiece line. No waist swivel, no pivot. Masterpiece my ass. And don't give me shit about the limited articulation being justified by the engineering. If goddamn Bumblebee has a waist swivel and an ankle pivot, Starscream should have it too. And I'm not suggesting that every masterpiece figure has to be perfect, but at the very least, the masterpiece transformer should be solid, fun to play with, and have a goddamn waist wobbly as all hell. Which is kind of the shame because the rest of the model kit is pretty solid. At least these things don't get in the way of posability. But I'm gonna remove them anyway, because it makes my life just a bit easier. It allows the kit to look around. It allows for rotation, ball joints at the shoulder pads and the shield. Swivel here. And forget about a waist swivel. At the top, at the thigh, double bend pivot. The ankle moves up and down. And for no other reason than I want to end the posability segment with a swivel, there's a swivel here. Welcome, true believers. Today we're talking about a figure that requires no unrelated opening skit. But I put one in just for that good. While the hip joints look natural compared to all these visible Revoltech joints, the sculpting on them is just gross. And it's not just that they're too thick. The sinewy parts are just ew. And the thigh swivel is at an ungodly angle. Why the fuck? Now everyone sees the knee, right? Okay, keep it in mind. The fact that the swivel is at a weird angle causes the knee to make absolutely no sense. Legs don't work like that. I hope you notice that this figure is super posable. This aspect of the figure is truly where all of my complaints about the sculpting up until this point are null and void. I love this thing now. Because after all, with great swivel comes great posability. And a joint at the base of the neck, rotation at the arm, swivel here, elbow swivel. But if you rotate the peg, at the wrist. And at the chest we have a swivel. The waist also has a great degree of rotation, can move back that far. Previously mentioned awkward thigh swivel, knee swivel. At the boot, but how could I forget about ankle swivel? Just take note that I reviewed the figure you sent me, I mentioned your store, now fuck off. Now excuse me, I'm actually very hungry, so I think I might have to make an order. Swivel-Man, Swivel-Man, he's still living in a garbage can. Health and fame, he's so fat. Hentai is where it's at to him. Life is a great big ball joint. He's finding that there's no point to being Swivel-Man. Don't worry about my mental health. Even though it's not perfect, it's not that bad. We took a selfie. He asked me to do swivel here. I told him, fuck you. I'm just kidding. I didn't tell him fuck you, but I didn't do it for him. Next time, if I do meet up with you, man, I'll do the swivel here all day for you. All of you guys were cool, man. Now, the next person... Go for it. My biggest issue with this figure, he's got no head swivel, a waist swivel, rotation at the leg, a seemingly great thigh swivel that I feel is a bit too loose to handle his combined form. Spoilers, I was completely right. Every ball joint can and will be a swivel.
As for posability, forget about it. You can't even hold this thing without it flopping around. It doesn't even have ability. I mean, you do get that, but that's more for the Megazord. So it's silly, cool looking, but not much fun to play with. But not very solidly. Big problem when you're trying to get them into some action poses, it could get really weird. Here is where my love starts to fade. Areas that fuck off. $275. $275 and the arms don't even snap in. However, the loose thigh swivels are a bit more forgivable. I understand that the lower legs have a substantial amount of die cast in them, so it's bound to weigh down at the thigh at one point or another. Annoying, but understandable. What the fuck is the arms excuse? The fact that a giant Megazord, a line of toys infamous for their lack of swivels, even has this is a godsend. And the Gao Gaigar had a beautiful ball joint at the head, so why the fuck does this figure just have a head swivel? Look, you know me, I'm not one to complain about swivels, but when another toy in the same toyland that's older has a ball joint at the head, it just seems like a big step backwards. Next you'll be telling me women are banned from driving. At least he's got a beautiful ratcheting show, biceps, limited ball joint at the wrist that is pretty much a swivel, and I was almost disappointed by the lack of a waist swivel, but if you just snap off this tail here, there you go. Rotation at the leg. Previously mentioned loose thigh swivel, but the T-Rex feet do get in the way of that. But if you utilize his beautiful spread, swivels are a lot more free. You could even bend this joint to free up the swivel even more. And I gotta say, the rest of the figure's posability is not that bad. Rotation at the arm, shoulder guards move out and can swivel, bicep swivel, wrist swivel, never mind, fuck you, waist swivel, swivel here. Posability on this figure is fantastic in some areas, but very lacking in others. He could also roll really well. Now at this point, I would move on to the posability, but we're talking about the DX version, you little cunt. And all the accessories wouldn't be half as fun if it weren't for the figure's fantastic. Back of the cap moves up and down, can rotate, but let's be honest, swivel here. If you rotate the peg, you swivel here. Of course, every ball joint can ball joint at the crotch, you get the idea. Ball joint at the spread, thigh swim. And it's always a wonderful day when you get it, ankle swivel. But with everything I find unsatisfactory with the figure, at least rotation at out, swivel, elbow swivel, wrist swivel, and I must not forget the ankle. In addition to these gun arms, these sections can move out, rotate, but let's remove the backpack so we can make the possibility that much easier. Rotation at the shoulder, out, swivel, just every ball joint can, another joint at the side skirts that allows it to rotate, thigh swivel. Hey Jobby, I know how much you like Pacific Rim, so I decided to give you this figure. But before you swivel your heart, like, comment, subscribe, someone send me an AC, please. Thank you so much, guys, and you're amazing. And what other typical YouTuber talking points that I miss? You're the best family on YouTube. Go Jake Paulers. But in the long run, these things don't really matter. Let's get to something that does. And for a model kit, this guy has quite the durable biceps. Rotate the peg and use his eyes one. And the bigger the ball joint, the bigger the swivel. Swivel here. There's a swivel in my boot. Wheels on the calf can rotate, but let's be honest. And to wrap up the posability segment. Now that I cleared that up, we can finally try to be gentle. Ball joint at it, some rotation, and this ball joint something I can get down with. Rotation at the shoulder, out, and here we have a true swivel. Ball joint at the wrist, which if you rotate, it can rotate, but it's very tight. Technically, there is a waist swivel, but I won't try it. Ball joint at the hips, which allows for some rotation, can move back that far. There's no actual thigh swivel here, but the ball joints have so much range that you could pretty much fake one swivel here. And what better way to end a posability with, who am I? Am I who I think I am? Or am I just the swiveling bastard that everyone sees me as? I guess I'll just have to accept it. Swivel here! Also, beautiful thing about this figure is that it is extremely solid. Is that joke dead yet? At least it's not the swivel gag. And the feet on this figure actually have a swivel here. That's all the posability for Laserbeak. But don't you worry, Soundwave himself has enough to go around. And even rotate. But we all know what a rotation is. Rotation at the arm, bicep swivel, swivel at the wrist, waist swivel, and the legs are a bit strange. So you have a hip swivel, knee swivel. And what could I say? This guy is a blast to pose. He's got just the right amount of swivels to pull off some expressive poses. God, I'm cancer. This part is great, and it should make any Pacific Rim fan freak out. Only problem I have with it falls out too easily. Matter of fact, a lot of the parts on this figure are unfortunately very loose. I suppose that Jonah got to swiveling a little harder than I did. Now the baby would have been fine as a static figure, but it actually does have a swivel here. Rotation at the arm, and that's about it for that. Now let's get into Big Mom. Most of the joints on the figure are this kind of ball joint. So you know you get a ball joint here and a ball joint at the other end. Every ball joint can turn, which allows for rotation. Do I even have to say it? Wrist swivel. Now the hips are on a ball joint, but it's so limited that it's pretty much a basic rotation, also known as a swivel. And each and every one of those ball joints kind of hurt. If the swivel gag wasn't dead yet, I'm doing my best to kill it. about anything. And the tiny gems scattered throughout the armor are precisely painted. But unfortunately, some of these pieces are a bit fragile. As you can see here, my excessive swiveling caused this part to break. To some people, this might be a little disappointing, but I say, what else did you expect? Zelda doesn't have much to do in the game anyway, so it makes sense that she wouldn't have a ton of accessories. But you might get more accessories if you get the DX version. That doesn't exist, I'm so sorry. But what does exist, thank Hylia, is a running gag that spiraled a little too out of control. If you're gonna watch another toy review channel, keep my cancer to yourself. Allows for a rotation, swivel here, elbow swivel down, but if you rotate, swivel here. Obligatory comment about the can rotate, also known as a thigh swivel. You even get a bit of an ankle swivel, but unfortunately it's completely useless. And you should buy from them because I said so. I'm just kidding. Check them out if you want, links in the description, and don't let me tell you what to do. Except that, for the love of God, fucking weapon storage, fantastic detail, perfectly distributed kibble. How can this guy get any better? Don't play stupid with me, I think you know how. Rotation at the arm, bicep swivel, wrist swivel. For such a fat fuck, he has a great degree of waist swivel. Thigh swivel. And because his feet are obviously tired, his ankle has a swivel here. And surprisingly, it's not frustratingly loose. If you listen closely, you can hear that it's a very soft ratchet. Now, there's some trouble in paradise. Even though the wheel feet are not frustratingly loose, they're frustratingly tight. And the wheels on this thing go round and round. And because this area was the back of the robot mode, you can attach that overkill gun. I mean, it could even move up and even rotate. This mode can roll really well, and that's due to some engineering trick that makes those soft ratchets from the robot mode completely disappear. Amazing. So much for your letter. This one's from Ashawn Bennett. Dear Swivel-Man, hopefully this insert ear rape note gets to you, and I have a few questions to swivel your dwivel. Why you love the swivels? Why not? Hey, Jared Barnes. Hey, Jobby. My name is Jared, and I am a huge fan. Hashtag Swivels. I thought it was gonna be one of these, like a really static Shokugan figure. This one actually has... Hey, dude! Got my brother into excessive swiveling, and now he needs help. I'm very sorry about that. Angel Castillo. Squidward here. SpongeBob, you know I don't like being caught a swivel. SpongeBob. Gay sent me. It's a combiner of some kind. We got a Pokemon tin with something in there. And we have a... Will game? You might be the best. Swivel here? Who needs all of this shit when I got it? Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Stay swivelly, my friend. Such a simple method of weapon storage, but man, does it make me moist. And he's got enough posability that he can actually reach for his sword. I finally said posability, you know what the swivel that means. Rotation at the arm, out, bicep swivel. This moves up and down, but unfortunately, there's no wrist swivel. What a damn shame. It could have been so easy to include a wrist swivel. But what's a little more understandable is the lack of a waist swivel. It sucks a lot of ass to be sure, but some swivels had to be sacrificed for the brilliant transformation. We'll get to that later. Swivel here. Posability on this guy is great, but obviously I wish there was a waist swivel in there. But like I said before, it's completely understandable why he doesn't have one. Not as fun to watch. And here we have the jet mode. Absolutely brilliant. The transformation is so clever that it's almost frustrating. Like, how the hell did they pull this out? I'll tell you how. They sacrificed the waist swivel, rest in peace. Despite the jet mode's imperfections, I still love it. And I can safely say that overall, this figure's awesome. Why didn't you get the double kiss off? As much as I understand why they couldn't include a waist swivel, it's kind of an important joint that I wish they integrated into the figure somehow. Trust me, it was hard for me too. Absolutely fucking nothing. I guess it's a little more understandable when we're talking about NECA, but come on, at least an atomic breath part. No accessories is almost just as bad as no swivels. Almost. And as you can see here, it's connected by a double ball joint. All the ball joints are like this, so keep that in mind when we're swiveling the figure. Every ball joint can be a swivel. And despite the arms on the figure looking withered and useless, you still get a slight rotation at the shoulder, bow, elbow, swivel, down, swivel. Of course, this ball joint can act as a swivel, but the spines do get in the way of that. Limited ball joint at the hips, which act as a basic rotation, can move back that far, swivel here, and an even better bendy wire in them, so you could actually pose them. Very nice touch. Now I know I said the P word, but we still got quite a bit to cover before before we get there. In this house, you gotta earn your damn swivel, so really hard to get off, and die-cast metal maybe, I don't know anymore. Of course, he's got more accessories than this, but that means I gotta change the hands. Not a bad display, I gotta admit. And I also have to admit that the paint chipping on his neck was not due to the figure falling over a couple of times. I know damn well why it's messed up. Rotation at the arm, no bicep, elbow, but if you rotate the side, swivel here, swivel not here. But to be fair, I can't really think of a way they could have included a waist swivel here, thigh swivel, and an ankle swivel. And yeah, this looks cool and all, but I'd rather display the figure in a way that takes advantage of its posability. Ball joint at the shoulder, which allows for rotation, and every ball joint can be double ball joint at the wrist, ball joint at the chest, ball joint at the waist, allows for an arcing back and a crunch. Of course, every ball joint rotation at the leg can move back that far. Pretty good spread. You got a thigh swivel. Could have used one more segment on the body. The spread on the arm is disgustingly limited, and the ankle pivot could have been better. But hey, at least it had a decent amount of swivels. What have I done? First, it's proving to be quite a challenge. And even though I'm getting to a point where I'm losing faith in my own running gag, I just gotta find it in myself to believe in the heart of the swivel. Or at Origami Okami. Use code SWIVEL here to get 10% off your entire order because it looks good on a shirt. That's right, I'm saying that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was designed by a soulless corporate hack. And by the way, did I mention that you can get this figure at Origami Okami and get 10% off your entire order by using code SWIVEL? And now, the moment you've all been waiting for or dreading. It's time to swivel! Oh. Well, it looks like you guys beat me to the punch. What an original drill. Got some rotation. Bicep swivel. Elbow swivel. And if you rotate the peg, you get some side to side. Swivel here. The waist ball joint is not the most, shall we say, solid. But regardless of that, every ball joint can die. Swivel. And finally, I'm aware that the word is spreading like cancer, and I've already done a formal apology. And I could keep saying that it bothers me greatly that a couple of annoying fans are abusing this beautiful word. But it's not gonna do anything. And I accept it. What I'm really trying to say is, you can't kill my swivel! But seriously, if you can, try to stop. Keep it in the family, please. Posability on this guy is pretty dang good. It's just a shame about that loose waist. I'm surprised because YouTube keeps automatically marking his comments as spam. Come on, man, it's not the most effective form of marketing. But what is an effective form of marketing is the code that you can use to get 10% off your entire order. It's been a crazy adventure, and I'm glad that you all could join me. I might do something a little unique for the occasion, but for now, let's just keep on swiveling. No, not in that way. Solid the figure is, but the rest of the figure's tight joints kind of makes up for that. Maybe a little fit again. Looks good, and I don't really care for it. But there is something about the figure that I care about immensely. Warning, anyone who spreads this word to unrelated toy channels is not my real son. You'll also contract cancer and be shot on sight. You have been warned. Heel, ratcheting shoulder, bicep swivel, wrist swivel, waist swivel, ratcheting kick, can't move back that far. Beautiful spread. No thigh swivel here, but you do get a swivel at the knee. Posability on this mode should be pretty obvious, but strangely, the helicopter can roll very well. That's due to these tires, which of course plays into his other mode. There's no landing gear of any kind. I kinda like that. They're not actually made of rubber, but they damn sure feel like it. This rubbery texture just adds a nice bit of quality to the figure, and it doesn't interfere with the rolling at all. And once you've got that gun plugged in, you can let me have that. Remove this scarf thing and replace it with this one. Looks a little more dramatic. And any waifus you may have, they're all trash compared to the one true one. Rotation at the shoulder, waifu gets in the way. Bicep swivel, but if you rotate the point at the wrist, that acts more like a swivel. Every ball joint can be angled. Thigh swivel. And you know what? I ain't no goddamn furry. Best girl here. Because anything more complex than this would make me want to die. Now, what's even more insane about Corey is the fact that he actually has some posability. The head doesn't move, but you do get a rotation at the arm. This small of a figure at all. But you may have noticed that this guy is lacking something very important. No bend at the elbow. Rotation at the arm. This joint is actually a ball joint, and that allows for a bicep swivel, wrist swivel, no waist swivel at first. But if you come to the back, lift this whole part up. Now you get a waist swivel, thigh swivel, a very high kick, and you get a beautiful pivot. But let's not lie to ourselves. This pivot is pretty much a swivel. The cannons on his shoulders can also rotate to act as secondary weapons, and that's a great reinterpretation of his classic smokestacks. Now, besides the back kibble, there is another aspect of the figure that I take issue with. The feet are a little bit unwieldy. I mean, these goddamn heels look like entirely new feet on their own, but I guess you could always convert them into shoes, and never mind, that looks dumb. Now, something as large and bulky as this design doesn't need a lot of articulation, but you know what? Make Toys gave it to us anyway. Thank you so much. Rotation, swivel here, more rotation, and ratcheting waist swivel, more figures need this. And that allows for a high amount of rotation. Thigh swivel. And there's this hinge joint here, so something is the fact that the hitch here is not the tightest connection. But if it were too tight, you wouldn't be able to roll this whole thing as well. Prime. It would have been neat if this trailer could hitch on to Masterpiece Optimus Prime in some way, but I'm stretching for complaints. They're straightforward. So despite the kibble being a bit these guys are decently versatile. He allows for rotation and your bicep swivel, wrist. Every ball joint can be waist swivel, very high kick, can move back that far, swivel here. And just to bump up that fun meter, these guys roll very nicely. And that's thanks to these tiny wheels at the bottom. And while we're at the bottom, yeah, this guy does have a lot of kibble. If you guys wait patiently for the new P.O. Box video, why don't you go check out my episode on Dai Tamadachi's Diecast.
And our guest host for this podcast is the Swivel Master himself, JobbytheHong. Good to have you here, man.
Hey, my name is Jobby.
Listen, keep this up, man.
I need a goddamn letter opener. Joseph McKinney. For Jobby, swivel here. Dear Jobby, hope you enjoyed this monstrosity of a figure, and remember to keep calm and swivel on. I think to save on time, I'm not going to read all of the letters on camera, except if they're particularly interesting because most of them just say, I'm a fan of your channel, I have a drawing, swivel here. That's usually what the letters boil down to, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Bob, for your fan. My name is Riley. If you want my legendary Defender Voltrons, send Swivels from one that's completely messed up. Holy crap, that looks awesome. And just to fill the quota for today, Super Robot Wars. I put a gloss coat on it, but the decals are still gonna be a bit fragile, so careful not to swivel it too excessively. Another target bag, another bag. And we come to the... what the fruck? Gotta be an explanation for this. I needed a new one. My other one broke. Transformer is Breacher from Rotom. The worst movie but best movie toy line. I have to agree there. He's missing his gun and his hips are really weak, but he's got so many... Thank you very much, TuxBuilder23 on YouTube. And thank you very much for the fidget spinner. I actually mean that. It's, let's move on. A lot of articulation here. 2. Swivel Senpai. I work on the goddamn floor. My back is destroyed because of it. I have a setup where doesn't require me to bend over so much. And that plugs right into there. Makes her look like a real goofball. But every figure, any good figure, anyway, has some swivel here. Ball joint here allows for a rotation. No bicep swivel. And if you rotate the peg, you get some side to side. Every ball joint can do. Mouth can open. The upper jaw can even rotate a little bit, making her look even more like a goof. And all those ball joints allows it to go. Fuck. The more I pose this figure, the less fun it gets to bit of a thigh sweep, bit of an eighth. Wait. Since the car mode is just a solid brick, no use in talking about posability. So the elbow, claw can open, and that's it. No. Like a basic model kit at first, rest assured, there's so many pieces on this goddamn thing that it'll make your head spin. You know what else we can call a spin, right? Let's just not go there. Every joint you move on this figure is a risk of it snapping in half. But, for the sake of my channel, sacrifices must be made. Very loose ball joints, and they could even swivel at their base. Shit allows for rotation. It can go a little bit more up, but you know, I don't want to break it even further. Bicep swivel. There is a wrist swivel, but I recommend you don't swivel it too hard. You could also rotate that wrist peg to get some side to side, but it's not even worth it. Swiveling her chest is not worth it either because, again, fuck the thigh swivel. And even jazz, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because the weight balance is so fucked. But you can safely adjust the angle of the sides using these built-in swivels on the arm guards. As for the rest of her swivels, they're pretty much the same as her other mode, except her backpack has a bunch of movable parts that it's kind of inconvenient to go one by one on, so I'll just say posability here. We can finally... I should probably get rid of this. Far. Rotation at the arm, the out, bicep swivel, wrist swivel, waist swivel, eat that bitch, and allows for a high kick, and of course there's a hinge joint at the butt flap, which allows the leg to move back that far, thigh swivel, a pivot at the ankle, again, eat that bitch. Fantastic. Not only does he have the minimum requirements for a good... And I gotta say, I feel that I was a bit too hard on MP11 on this video. I don't even think it's that terrible of a figure. But man, compared to this guy, I drew a picture summing up my feelings. I'm sorry, did I mention I could draw? I mean, I really want you to know that I can draw. It's very important that you know that I can draw. Please. I just don't want Swivels to be the only thing I leave on the very nice touch. And of course, the stand makes posing the figure that much easier.
Wait, you said pose. You mean like JoJo pose?
Too tight, but if you rub it furiously enough to generate heat, you can eventually... There you go. And you can rotate it even from bicep swivel, wrist swivel, down. And if you rotate the peg, which I do not recommend you do, every ball joint can be out. Swivel at the waist. But you can also rotate this hip joint, and instead of the leg moving forward, you get a beautiful spread. Thigh swivel. And of course, what everyone complains about, the fandom. It's pretty trash. In terms of cancer, it's up there with 2012 PewDiePie, Undertale, Markiplier, and JobbytheHong. Now enough Lily on this guy's not that bad, you know, but at the arm, allows it to rotate, wrist swivel, waist bend, every ball joint, and the ankle, nothing. Overall, the figure's not bad, and it at least deserves a but Five Nights at Freddy's as a franchise deserves a Who is it, Kathleen or Davlin? Hi, Joey. I love your videos and made you some art. Let's take a look at that, huh? And of course... And everyone, ask everyone for favors. Demonetize me for that joke, YouTube. I dare you. This one doesn't have a name, but I'm sure it will be inside. That's all we need to know. Thank you, Alex V. Swivel King. It can be a Wendy's bag? Please swivel in my frozen beef Jobby. Well, obviously, I'm not one of those, huh? And our final envelope, Wayne Maxey. Oh! Hey, Jobby, I hope... If you would like, my IG is Dr. Rhino Dino. I remember that name. Thank you very much, Mr. Wayne. Really open some actual boxes, so let's see what we got first. Let's hope the stuff inside this box isn't as fucked. Why don't we open this shit end first? To Sir Swivel, just 4. This is for the viewers as well, if you have enough time to check. How many times has Jobby said the word swivel? Go for it, guys. Anything like that. And finally... we guess so that Bumblebee face probably came with a Happy Meal. Thank you very much for that. I have to shamelessly show off my voice. Ray! Infinity War. Confirm. Oh, Pen. Oh, how completely irrelevant you are for most of the show.
Is that a penguin? Oh my god, it's gonna eat my ass!
Completely. So this Jetfire looks goddamn awesome, and according to the letter, it was custom, and you could kind of see it here. Oh, and obligatory. Thank you very much. Unstable kits, according to everyone's best friend Mecha Guy Katsu. That was also not sarcasm. He's a pretty good content creator. And it's built. Hi, Jobby. My name is Steven or Lynx. And that's all I need to know. Oh. You trying to get me to actually watch anime, buddy? Now we got a note here. Dear Swivel Messiah, I was the main character's brother, so thank you so much to this ugly motherfucker for kicking off the plot to one of the most exciting pieces of media I've ever consumed. Well, that's kind of an exaggeration. I mean, I wouldn't put it up there with Onichichi. Hard to say anything else about the figure because I basically say the same thing over and over. So why don't we take a look at the accessories? There are no accessories. Which leads us to everyone's other favorite, not well thought out running joke. Swivel at the head. Rotation at the arm. Why don't we go a full 360 because I never do. Elbows. Ball joint at the wrist. Every ball joint. This is the real knife on the figure. Holy crap, that's sharp. Rotation on his other arm, which let's face it, looks more like, you know. Arm moves out, no bend at the elbow. Ball joint at that wrist. Every ball joint at the hips. Allows for rotation. Can't move back that far. Action spread. Limited bend at the knee. Ball joint at the ankle. And every boss get into that. You simply push this button.
The cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff.
So for such a short, stocky piece of shit, this guy is actually quite poor. Rotation at the arm. Bicep swivel. Wrist swivel. Rotation at the leg. That's on a beautiful ratchet. Yeah. Thigh swivel. Landing gear can... It's technically the figure's only accessory. Which of course leads us to the next part, you know the words.
Rotation at the show. Now, swivel here. Swivel. Now, at first, it might seem like all hope is lost. But, if you turn around the figure, untab this part, you get a joint that I should be passionate about, but a small group of people ruined it for me. Thank you very much. He's got a high kick. Can't move back that far. Beautiful spread. A tight swivel at the thigh. But then again, pretty much the entire thing is a giant piece of kibble. And it's completely possible to adjust the angle of the cannon. Okay, that didn't really work, but you get the idea. This thing has something resembling posability. It helps that these struts are obviously his arms, which, rather pathetically, are done way better here than a much more expensive third-party Galvatron. Yeah. This one comes from Trey and Rachel. Hey Jobby, my name is, but you can call me Trey. Keep calm and swivel on. Well, Trey, that's the kind of usage of the word swivel that doesn't make me want to kill myself. And look at that, I'm assuming this is more fan art, but let's take a look at the letterverse. Hey Jobby, my name is Ben, I'm 14, and I typed this because when I write, I scream everything, but I sent you some pictures that I thank you very much, Ben, and off to the next one. And here we got a Jensen Whitten. 3 years? Yeah, basically. P.S. Do you know what Dragon Ball Z is? No. And your fan art here? Godzilla Prime? Keep calm and swivel on. As always, Mambo, artwork of some kind, and a letter. Let's start with the letter. Hey there, Jobby. My name is Darren Diaz, and yeah, second letter in a row. That's why I recognized you. Huge fan. Swivel here. Here's some stuff. Figure's credit, it has some fantastic mechanical detail, and these little spherical cannons can move around. But if we're talking about the weapons here, the main cannon is the best part. And not only because it's the only part of the vehicle that can do this, it just has an awesomely retro design and actually look like a functioning vehicle. It helps that the figure has a set of multiple rollable wheels, but they only roll if you align the legs properly, and because nothing snaps into place, that's kind of I want to die. But if you do manage to get them in position, it doesn't help at all that these wheels on his feet are still rollable. Couldn't they just have flipped up or something? Fuck! Also, these ankle guards are the worst thing ever. Forget about them. So those wheels at the feet just make the figure feel slippery. Yippee. Fuck. But let's give the devil his due. The figure does have a swivel at the hands, rotation at the shoulder, biceps, wrist swivel that's limited by these wires here, and no waist swivel. What? Now hold on here. Didn't Naga have a swivel here at the main cannon? Why didn't they design the figure in a way that swivel carries over into this mode? I just can't fathom how they could waste the perfectly good... At this moment, I have no love in my heart. And no, there's absolutely no way that you could get a waist swivel out of this guy, because Garuda here locks everything into place, so... Fuck you. I suppose the only thing I can do after that great injustice is rotation at the hips. I can move which gives us access to... The legs can extend somewhat. Thigh swivel? Maybe no. My brother's trying to copyright the word react situation. In other words, that video will definitely not be dated and be relevant forever. Wow, I'm such a genius. So to atone for the sin of... Swiveltopia. Here's Bill Perfect. He's fun to handle, fun to suck, and most importantly, fun to blow. Side to side is kind of limited, but that's way better than nothing at all. On a ball joint, every ball joint can be a swivel, and they rotate here. Allows it to rotate a full 360. Swivel here, elbow swivel at every ball joint. And unfortunately, his entire torso is pretty much a brick. No titty joint, no waist swivel, no reason to live. I mean, you could untap that and... Nah. Which allows for a kick, and it moves back that far. Beautiful spread. Side swivel, knee swivel. Now every ball joint can be a swivel, but not this one because it's a little too tight and that is part of the transformation, but come on. I gotta get one last one in. Sweet. Other than the bits of visible war Greymon, I have no other problems with this guy, other than the lack of head posability, but come on, that's not even worth complaining about. But you do get the same amount of arm posability, swivels and all, knee swivel, and the same ball joint at the foot, which, by the way, is yellow now. Bandai, please breed with me. Size comparison. We'll start it off with Joshua Metz. Jobby boy. Hey Jobby, my name is Joshua Metz, and I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and when I found one of your Godzilla reviews, I subscribed about 1 month ago, and I love your videos, and keep on doing a great job about... keep on swiveling. P.S. I'm 11. Oh, thank you very much, Shebe. This one is from Aaron Pouncey. Get a job, please. I haven't even opened the letter yet, and I feel the tumor forming in my brain. Mad World. Have you played Animal Crossing New Leaf yet? Nah. And the final question you have here is just simply... Keep up the swiveling, Jackson Hefner. Well, thank you very much, Jackson. Good luck to you on your channel, and hey, Why not? Send that Bionicle over, why don't you? And he's still best girl. This one is from Benny Salgado. It features some pretty good artwork on the envelope, which is always really hard to show off because I don't want to accidentally dox somebody. Look how awesome that is. Why do some people insist on spelling it this way? Now we got a bunch of flash side what drawing to give you. Well, your friend didn't do a good job because you gave me fucking everything. Hey, Jobby, my name is Benny Salgado. I am a big fan of your channel and the Swivel with a V, with a V, Swivel with a V, with a V! Follow me 100, keep up the videos, don't stop, and Swivel. This one, Arts 0 from Mega Man X. Here is the DR0 that I told you about along with all the... Oh, that's right, you contacted me on Facebook, I think. May the swivels of it serve you well in giving you the answer to what am I fighting for?
Ah! No, this isn't happening! There's no reason for me to go on. What am I fighting for?
Greatest video game of our time? What the fuck? Holy shit. Oh my god, this is pure cancer, but it's so well done. This is some top tier cancer right here. Hey Joe, you genius. P.S. Please do a crossover with Fellas. No. There is a legit micro SD card in here. The attention to detail on this thing is stunning. There's the inside. You even got a little cartridge. I don't know what's inside that micro SD card, but I will look at it in my own time and probably post the results to Twitter.
Looks like another Christmas thingy.
Hello, yellow boy. It's me again, Chris. I saw your Barbados review and I decided that this one might hold up better to your Swivels. Love the channel and have a happy new year again from Chris. Man, it's just a bunch of late Christmas gifts. I feel bad. Hi, Jobby. Enjoy your gift. It's all Swivels.
What the fuck?
I hope you think of Jose Leon. I'm not gonna read that word out loud. Oh, I get the joke here. Woo! It's a Rubik's Cube. This here, boy, is the ultimate swivel machine. I just f***ed it up for myself.
What do you...
Mayor. It's a Gundam Age titty. And it's pre-built most likely. Got a note. Been a fan of your swivels for almost a year now and has been the best few months of my life. Wow, that is high praise. Do you have anything else in your life? Swivel strong, Andre. P.S. My YouTube name is Aquatix. Paint should encourage us to play with this figure, but, and this has got to be the biggest but that's ever come out of my mouth, this figure is not solid at all. It's bad. Give up. The chest keeps falling apart. Skirts are loose, shoulder pads are floppy, back cable doesn't want to snap in, the cannon is floppy, the waist can go to hell, the skirts can go to hell, the pelvis can go to hell, the feet can go to hell, the figure can go to hell, but at least he's got ratchet joints. Figure, it's more like a plastic explosion. I need a goddamn bottle of Guinness. And to top off this catastrophic crescendo of fuck, the figure's tiny feet could barely support his weight. But throughout all of this, I actually managed to get the hang of it. At least enough to pose it without losing my goddamn mind. Bulge, rotation at the shoulder, out, bicep swivel, elbow swivel, wrist swivel. Waist swivel is on a ratchet joint, but it doesn't matter at all. Allows for a high kick. You can move back that far. Side skirts move out and don't snap in. But to give the devil his due, this thing does have a beautiful spread, sometimes unintentionally. And now we come to the part that I really don't want to do. Good God, this transformation. I understand if you want to skip the mess that awaits you, but just keep in mind, I actually went through the trouble of transforming this thing on camera, purely because I love what I do and I needed to get this video over 10 minutes. And yes, I actually went through the trouble of transforming this thing. Check out that review to see how convoluted that was. But honestly, that was nothing compared to this unadulterated hell. The actual transformation from robot mode to gun mode for this guy, not fun at all. Give up. And the soul-crushing experience of the transformation far outweighs the positives of the gun mode. But even that was nothing. Nothing compared to getting this guy into the tank mode. And just to make things slightly easier for myself, I'm gonna half transform this guy back into robot mode. Spoilers? It won't make the pain go away.
survey. Oh my god.
And here we have the tank. The canvas could even move up and down. They could extend. The turret can't rotate at all, but this thing sure can. And that moves up and down. The treads are not functional, but at least this mo fits together real nicely, right?
Mr. Jobby, you missed our group session today. Is everything alright?
Yeah, I've been busy.
Mr. Jobby, are you rotating your gumpless head again?
The actual toy rights to the GoBots because the original toy designs were licensed from Bandai, which is a direct competitor to Takara Tomy, who distributes Transformers toys overseas, and insert something dumb here so the 12 girls don't get me. I have to assume this is a GoBots thing as opposed to a machine robo thing because anime has too much class to resort to this childish humor. And the rest of his accessories are there for the transformation. Yeah, this guy is kind of a parts former. It's not the end of the world though, keep it in my pants. But how could I possibly keep it in my pants when there's so much? Rotation at the bicep swivel, that's pretty dang tight. Swivel here. Way swivel up. Got a high kick. And if you move this butt flap out the way, it can move back that far. Beautiful. Ooh, that's tight. Swivel here. Can't move side to side. It's so obviously the robot mode doing a funny pose. But hey, at least it's show accurate. I will say that this mode feels so much better than it looks. I mean, the wheels feel like actual rubber. It doesn't bother me too much. Pocket, I don't know. The bike rolls pretty good. And fortunately, it has a built-in kickstand. The only thing that I can say kind of bothers me is that these robot mode shoulders don't snap in into any position, and that could get kind of annoying, and I'm just really stretching for things to say at this point. Then I forgot to mention how solid this figure actually is. All the joints are nice and tight, which makes posing the figure that much more enjoyable. It's a ratchet joint. Not gonna lie, the head comes off a little too easily, but you can rotate this Revoltech joint, plug that back in, and now you can get some side to side. Should have just been a ball joint, Jesus. The ears can rotate, bit of a swivel here, point rotation at the arm, and we could get that a full 360. One of these, rotate the wrist. Every ball joint can, yes. Yeah. Here, swivel here, ball joint at the hips, allows for a high kick, can't move back that far, and the spread is okay. But actually, if you rotate the legs a little bit, yep, beautiful spread. Thigh swivel, knee swivel, up and down at the ankle. Small the thing is, but that's appropriate for the character, so it's not that surprising. After all, she is a rabbit police officer from a Disney movie for kids about talking animals. Wow, there really is something wrong with me, isn't there? Let's just get these open. This one comes from A. Your name ain't Dragon, get out of here. Swivel here. Thank you, Molly. Big brains for big boys. You understand what I'm saying. Okay, keep calm, man. You almost got me there, man. You almost got me. You wanted to trigger me? Yeah. Okay. There you go. Thank you very much for that. I'm just gonna go with that. I'ma survive this. It's not like I got like 1,000 letters to go through. Okay. Haha. Very funny. Ha! Swivel here. Swivel here. Oh, I'm so hurt. Swivel. You spelt the catchphrase that I don't even like anymore wrong. Oh, whatever will I do? Oh. Another question here. Where the are the Gunpla reviews? Yo, why am I still doing this? Keep on swiveling. Thank you very much, Trevor. This one's from Timothy Singer. He forgot to leave the ink to dry. Forgive me. This letter's in 2 parts. I'm not gonna read that. That's all I'm gonna... Look at that. Look at that. Keep spamming me with your artwork. Keep doing that, please. Even drew the cannon body. Just got a whole bunch of fan art on one paper, and it's great. Man. You got an excellent
recreation of another artist's work. This drawing is originally by Afro Ninja. Fantastic artist, great animator too, and so great that it inspired our good friend Justin once again to copy their work. Not a bad copy at all. Very accurate to the original drawing, but it is still a copy. How was I supposed to know? Piece of shit, motherfucker. Son of a bitch. Don't call me dumb shit on my channel. You come to my house, you call me a dumb shit. You picked the wrong house, fool. Obligatory swivel here. Looks like a cult symbol. I kind of like that. What we got for it's an amazing Disney show, and I actually look forward to what Alex Hirsch's girlfriend is gonna make. The I think it's called Owl House. Nice. It's me in the very Alex Hirsch style, and also Monica Godzilla Prime. Thank you very much. This one from a Jacob Dean, and it's for Spicy Swivel King. I like the alliteration there. Short and sweet letter. Keep on swiveling. Thank you very much. Let's see what you got. You even halfway through a knife head drawing and gave up. You tried. Yeah, it looked pretty good so far, though. You should have gone all the way through it. Okay, and this is a prepare to get swiveled. Legitimately good mecha drawing. Have a blessed day. Some form of fan art. Octopus Prime. I don't know the context of that. It sounds like some kind of in-joke. Alright, Ali Fat Boy, I got it right. He's 10. Swivel here. Alright. What? Charizard, Ghidorah, Soundwave. I never really thought about putting Pokemon in the mix for those, 3 combo characters, but alright, well, happy late birthday to you, London. And London is actually your real name. That's great. Yeah, there you go. As a heart. Here in this little... Finally, we're done with the letters. Ooh, this video is probably gonna be like 30 minutes long. I hope you guys don't mind. I don't mind. More ad revenue for me. Now, before we get into the actual posability of the figure, I want to point out the joint system that's in play here. This figure's a Revoltech figure, which means that it's filled to the brim with Revoltech joints. And if you don't know what a Revoltech joint is by now, there you go. This tiny ratchety piece of shit is what a whole line of figures is named after. And in theory, it's really good. I mean, who can go wrong with ratchet joints, right? However, the thing about ratchet joints is that they work only for certain areas. At least, that's just my personal taste. When practically the entire figure is filled with these ratchet joints, it severely limits the range of articulation that you can get. This is in direct contrast to the use of ball joints that most figures have, like SH Figuarts and Figma. For this girl here, you're limited to the amount of clicks that you get. And that wouldn't be so much a problem if the sculpting itself wasn't compromised just to fit in these goddamn joints in there. For example, her ass completely ruined when you... Oh god. This could have easily just been a ball joint. This might be an older figure, so I'm pretty sure newer Revoltech figures have caught on to the idea that Revoltech joints shouldn't be everywhere on the figure. Take for example the last Revoltech figure that I reviewed, the Judy Hopps. Purely ball joints, except for the neck joint, which I pointed out in that figure was kind of shoehorned in. Anyway, it's not the end of the world, so we might as well get to the actual end of the world. Swivel! Head down. The arm can rotate a full 360. Didn't pop off that time. Good on me. Arm can move out. And there's forward and backward movement connected to a Revoltech joint, and there it goes. Bicep swivel. That's at a very strange rotate the peg and you get some side to side. Revoltech joint at the chest that allows for an chest swivel. Legs are weird as fuck. They can move out. Can't move back all that much. And the figure has a spread is a little precarious here. Thigh swivel, I guess, just to give you an idea of what kind of malarkey we're dealing with. Oh, an actual thigh swivel. I'm funny, right? And a goddamn good pivot. And you actually get some shoe detail. Never noticed that before. It's not like I actually play with my toys or anything. Crossover Shiryu, which is the true best girl of the Ava series. But if you really want to know who Ava best girl is, Misato. You can fight me on that, but you're wrong. Precise mechanical detail is really selling me on the whole big boy idea. Will this be the new Jobby meme that'll be dead within a few months? Subscribe to find out. Now before we move on to the... I want to point out how beautiful this thing feels. All of the paint on the figure has this really nice satin finish to it, which makes the majority of the figure feel silky smooth. Of course, this is a double-edged sword because that increases the risk of paint chipping, but with how solid all the joints really are, I don't care. Arm can rotate a full 3. Bicep swivel that the tread interrupt. Swivel here. Swivel at the waist. Side skirts are, of course, on ball joint. That allows for a kick. Can't move back that far. Thigh swivel. The lower leg can rotate, but that's more for the transformation. If it really bothers you, you could just It's perfect now. And a really neat feature, the treads are actually functional. I mean, it's pretty tight so they won't perfectly roll on any surface, and I am ruining my setup right now. I'm still perfectly willing to work with the Lunar Toy Store, but I do have a few conditions. Number 1, don't make me pay for anything, and number 2, stop shoving model kits and sexy statues down my... It's becoming kind of a problem. It's affecting my social life negatively. You know, all the people that I love and care about keep suggesting shows to me, such as this one and that one. Maybe not that one. And I always tell them, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna catch up with you guys so I can join in on your conversations so you don't have to keep tiptoeing around spoilers for me. And then I never do. Instead, I go around the internet scouring for memes and end up on a show that no one is watching at all. There's gotta be a name for this sort of behavior. Call it a fear of commitment. Call it not caring about what other people think. Call it crippling porn addiction. The ball joint construction ensures that those pieces move when you pose the figure. And since we're already here, why don't we talk about the head sculpt? It's way too early for the camera. Of course, the stand allows for more posing options, but we haven't even got to that yet, have we? 360-degree rotation at the... It's not annoying at all. I'm keep calm, man. Swivel on. Every ball joint can be. Every ball joint can, kinda. Waist swap. Ball joint at the side skirts. Ball joint at the front skirts. And that allows for the ball joint at the hip to fully express itself. And I do mean fully. Can't move back that far. Thigh swap. One more swivel. Circular saw. Which, to my never-ending delight, it actually spins. So the bike could actually steer. The mirrors can rotate individually. Little clips on the side here on a ball joint, which gives the weapons adjustability. And the bike could roll really nicely. I should also point out the bike stands up pretty well without the use of a kickstand. And now we'll bring back the Prospect, because for such a little guy, he is packed full of essential vitamins and minerals. Allows for a 360-degree rotation. Bicep swivel, swivel here, swivel at the waist. Allows for a high kick. Can move back that thigh swivel. And of course... posability on the Prospect is unexpectedly fantastic. You could do a lot with these guys. They're also fairly solid, so that's plus. That goes for the bike as well. You can store the weapons the same place you clipped it on the motorcycle, yippee. So details, accessories, that's right. Some of that. Ball joint here, every ball joint. Ball joint here, wish it snapped in. Ball joint here, every... No ab crunch, but you do get a waist swivel. Rotation at the leg, can't move back that far. One of the... This hip guard can rotate, and you get one of these. Ankle guard can rotate all around the wheel, and that could act as another knee bend, why not? And every ball joint, not really this. This part right here on the shoulders is particularly sharp. Oh, it is. That happened? Now I did say pose, so let's take a look at the accessories. There are no accessories. I'm not gonna swivel that. Pathetic. Previously mentioned ball joint at the ear, which is pretty unlimited. It's only his left here too. This one perfectly fine. This one not so much. And there's a fairly limited ball joint at his skull, just like his SH Figuarts counterpart. Missile pods can move up and down, and they can move up and down here. And I think there's a ball joint here, but it acts more like a rotation, also known as a swivel. Too tight to do that. Or not. Ball joint at the shoulder allows for a full... Fuck. I hit that. Rotation. And right below that, you get a swivel here. And if you're not into the fully extended wing, I suppose you can retract that, even though now it looks like half a tail. Spoilers. No real articulation at the midsection, although there is one of these, but that's more for the transformation. Ooh, ball joint here. Also allows for a full rotation. Trying to say is Bandai just keep shoveling shit down my throat, I'll gobble it up. For what it's worth, everything fits together really nicely. Bam, he is solid. Ball joint at the shoulders. You get a ball joint at his creepy man hands, which also have a tendency to pop off really easily. Up and down at the wrist. The pelt, which is obviously the front legs, has a ball joint. And that's pretty cool because you can pose it in a way that looks like it's flapping in the wind. Ball joint at the hips, which is kind of hindered by these stupid struts, but those struts can move out of the way. And you get a bend at the knee. And the ball joint. God, that feels terrible. So if you like this video, give it a like and give it a comment. Subscribe for more swiveling content from me. Ew, that hurt to say. And don't forget to click that bell for notifications. You have a 50% chance of catching this video in your sub box. Number 1. Dear Jobby, I'm so happy you accepted my confession. I can't wait to spend the future with you as a token of my undying love and adoration for you. Have this cute little drawing. I love it. Oh, there's one missing. That's strange. Number 2. Spooked me real good, Yuri. Thanks.
If I twist the knife inside me, would it count it as a swivel?
If Yuri said swivel here, I wouldn't be so tired of it. Thank you, Sonic. There's nothing more fun than running away from my problems. The first video I saw of yours was the Sonic Nendoroid review. Hamura's my favorite character. I hope you like everything and keep on with the swivels. I don't just like everything, Sydney. I love everything. You are a fantastic artist. Hey, Jobby, I'm sorry for the dark ages I give you. Hope this gift I give you will make you forgive me for the dark ages. Sadly, no swivels. And he made sure to capitalize the V in swivels. That's right. Benny Salgado is in fact the person who started this whole swivel mess. And I think this is enough compensation for that whole fiasco, don't you guys? Thank you very much, Benny Salgado, also known as Godzilla_fan200 on Instagram. And let's see what fan art you have. Nice. As long as
Swivel here.
It's Godzilla killing the Muto by swiveling its head. That would have made for a better movie, honestly. Ooh. From my friend, because he's too poor to send it himself. Dear Jobby, my name is Sadrak, and how about you swivel this? Dick. Got him. Articulation of the feet. Do I really gotta say it? This sucks. It sucks that I can't say this without it being a dead meme. The swivel, I said it, the swivel is an actual concept. I mean, it's got practical application. I suppose there's really no getting out of it. And if you rotate that joint, of course. And I forgot to mention the head. For every ball joint, I don't recommend doing that for too long because you can chip the paint on the sides here. A swivel at the waist bumps allows for a high kick. Oh, shit. The spread was too beautiful. No sort of thigh swivel, although you can simulate one with that ball joint in. One of these at the ankle here. This guy, this guy has the same amount of articulation as this guy, although his big old shoulders do kind of get in the way of head swiveling. Supposedly young, and not to sound like a complete meme, but I actually wish that these figures had some sort of thigh swivel. I'd suggest already take a page from SH Figure Arts. I mean, you already took a page from Kamen Rider. Why stop there? Let's check out this little feature. Oh! Moving mechanics. And you get a little bit of that action on the chest. The more you rotate it, the faster it goes, so it's kind of funny. Same thing for the other. Oh, what a perfect opportunity to talk about some of the problems. You have an elbow joint attached to them. Of course, that isn't the only point of articulation, and the painting and the sculpting on this figure is amazing. I actually forgot to say that. Swivel at the head, side to side, and the swivel is actually fairly limited. Rotation at the shoulder. Shoulder pad gets in the way of doing a full 360. Swivel at the bicep. Soft. Ball joint at the wrist has a hinge joint, which allows it. Oh, fuck. Just hit the camera with my hand. But that ball joint does have a limited rotation. You can do a nice kick. The joints at the hips are nice and tight. I appreciate that very much. And the legs can move not too far back. As for the spread, it's pretty. It's a pretty spread. Limited thigh swell. One of these. There is a rotation here. Of course, these are on ball joints, even though I really would have preferred if they just stayed put. And the wings can flap. are greatly improved, and the main point of difference between these two figures, the original Cybertron Starscream figure could not do that. And this part here even has a little wiggle. Isn't that lovely? And if we're talking about how things feel, well, this guy solid. Maybe a little too solid in parts. That doesn't even want to move. Well, I guess I owe the UK justice system £800, right? Fuck off. That's hardly a complaint, but it is a bit inconvenient. And even though this guy is a masterpiece style Transformer Cybertron Starscream, there is no die-cast metal that I can find. And while we're here, I gotta mention that the ball joint on this guy's head is pretty tight, which makes it kind of hard to do the thing, but I'll do my best. Previously mentioned tight shoulder ratchet allows for 360-degree rotation, shoulder pad can move out, and the arm cannons, the no raise, I know what it's called, you son of a beer. As I'm about bicep swivel, there is a wrist swivel, but this arm guard gets in the way. But if you really wanted it, which I do, you can open up this arm flap, and there you go. Waist swivel, and to unlock the waist swivel's true potential, you can flip up these cannons. Ba-bam! Rotation at the leg, can move back that far. Beautiful spread, a ratcheted thigh swivel. But this being a Transformers review, let's explore the reason for this cockpit. Engineering on this guy, these tabs they're like transforming Gundam level of bad. Got him, dude.
Did you say Gundam? Did you like Gundam?
Fuck off. Besides this little key still doesn't work, but the swords do. The null rays can still do that. Can still move. And these tiny plastic wheels at the bottom of the figure allow it to roll. Right into the size comparison. This one has a lot of bullshit on the back of it, doesn't it? This one's from a Vinny... and it's from Illinois. The back of the envelope is really not much to go on. I mean, it looks like the ravings of a bad man. What, did Pedro write this? When you look at the front of it, really nice use of color and it attracted my eye, so... And here we just have an ass. Let's take a look at that shirt that he sent me. Redbubble sticker, and here we are. This is such a shitty meme, but I thought it was funny. Would this somehow be a grossly offensive shirt? Would I be arrested in the UK? Leave a comment down below. I don't see why I would. Come on, man. Equal rights. Letter, of course. Mass of metal and helicopter kibble. That seems about right. But until then, if you liked the video, give me a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Something's wrong with the friggin' ass propeller. Spins better than the main propeller. Issue could be fixed in some way, maybe with some sandpaper or super glue. Whatever the case, if I don't have time to build Gundam anymore, then I don't have time for this. As for other accessories, technically this thing on his arm came packaged separately, but it's not so much a weapon as it is just a piece of parts forming. And it spins. That's a good trick. I wouldn't take so much issue with this part if it transformed a bit more, but this is it. This is not a convincing weapon. Come on. And while we're at the arm here, the hands are stupid. No sort of wrist swivel to turn the hand around, so he's perpetually doing the limp wrist pose. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Come on. Current year. But you do get a hinge joint at the thumb, and you can have some fun with that. Lack of wrist swivel aside, at least you get a ball joint at the head. Every ball joint can be a swivel. Arm can move up that far, and move back that far. Oh, bicep swivel, we already talked about that. No waist swivel at all, but you do get boing. Front skirt can move up, which allows some rotation, and it can move back that far. And the helicopter mode is awesome. The Damn, this mode is huge. These rotors are so long that I have to fold them up to get some good detail shots. And these helicopters don't roll, they're just solid plastic pieces. Of course, this tail rotor spins, and the main rotor doesn't really spin freely, but that makes sense because if it was completely loose like the tail rotor, it would be a pain in robot mode. You know, the tightness of this rotor makes it less of a spin and more of a... And you notice how I had to bring it to this cam to get it to spin on camera because this thing is big, man, and long. This is a little bit disappointing. Oh shit, a beautiful spread. Wow, that just popped off. Good. And even then, this is not as much of a clusterfuck as Blackout. This actually reminded me a lot of Scorn. Do you guys remember Scorn? It's only the most popular video on my channel. Why is that the most popular video on my channel? I've done so much better since then. Like this one. I'm getting increasingly more sick as the video goes on. This fucking sucks. As this thing just stays there, that's dick joke. And to the best of my ability on camera for the first time, this is the dinosaur mode. Is it though? Great way to add some realism to your paint jobs, especially your Gundam model kits. I think we get that he's got little left arms on his left, and they stand out, and not in a good way. They look kind of cheap. I mean, I do have a few years of painting experience under the belt. I do have a couple of brushes. I could always just do it myself, like how I used to do with my Gundam. Not only does this crotch plate disassemble easily, but this whole skirt area is pretty clunky. Ooh. Yes, it is screen accurate, but it does get in the way of leg posability. This figure has no accessories, unless you count that cardboard back. Every ball joint can be a swivel. Rotation at the shoulder. Can't move back that far. Out. Swivel here. Wrist swivel. No wrist swivel here because there is no wrist. But this arm does have a hinge joint at the elbow flap. Hinge joint here. Ooh, waist swivel. That allows for a decent kick. Can't move back that far. Beautiful spread. Which reminds me, I forgot to mention this guy's spread in my Blackout review, so I'll do that now. Beautiful spread. Swivel here. And of course, every ball joint is okay. It's fairly limited. I would have liked to seen more range at the ankle pivot, but at least it's got a waist swivel. Make the argument that some of these not snapping in parts allows for more posability, but that posability is so limited that it doesn't even matter. You also get leg articulation, of course the same as the robot mode, and if you move it up, that kind of solves my issue with the longer legs a little bit. Mouth can oh shit. Mouth can open, but it can't close all the way, and there's no actual articulation at the head itself. This can't possibly count, which brings me to a point. If you're gonna kill any head articulation, you might as well kill the whole thing. I mean, you could have used the mass from these calves to fill in this whole gap. I would rather have a perfectly proportioned brick than an awkwardly proportioned mass of swivels. At least this awkwardly proportioned mass of swivels is big, because size matters, right? Yes. This part can lock into any of those notches. And finally, you get a... yeah. As for the model kit itself, the head does not have one of those. It's completely stationary, no posability. But you do get a ball joint at the arm. Allows for rotation. Swivel here. Of course, every ball joint. And some rotation. No waist swivel, obviously, because there's no waist. Previously mentioned stupid tight rotation at the and it can move back. They could move back more, but I'm not even gonna bother. Decent spread. No thigh swivel, but you do get a joint that simulates one. So there's these holes in the thighs here that's supposed to plug into that part if you were to rotate it more, but because the joints are too flippin' tight, I'm not even gonna bother. I really wish this whole piece could have tabbed into the back in some way. Definitely distracting considering the rest of the figure is nice and but it doesn't feel this good without some modifications. For instance, the thigh swivel here was extremely tight out of the box. So an easy modification for that is you take those screwdrivers here and you just and unscrew that just a tiny bit, not enough to break the thigh apart, but enough to loosen that up. Ooh, that's nice. And another modification that I recommend, maybe it's just my specific figure, hopefully, these hip joints were a little too loose out of the box. Again, you come to his ass, get a screwdriver, and plug it right. And instead of loosening it up, you would tighten it up. And from there, the hip joints feel nice and tight. It's not completely perfect, but it's enough. And the modification is especially important when we get to this big-ass shield. Thank God for that hip modification, because without it, this huge chunk of plastic would have dragged it down. And the dynamic design of these weapons make them look
excellent in action poses. And of course, action poses would be impossible without a head. Every ball joint can be a swivel. Down, rotation at the arm here, swivel here. Wrist swivel, fingers can open. No index finger, swivel here. And that's probably why the back cable doesn't tap in. Oh. Previously mentioned rotation at the leg, can't move back that far. Beautiful spread. Previously mentioned thighs, pretty good pivot. But we can take that pretty good pivot to if you come down here, these heel parts are supposed to help with standing up the figure, but I find them kind of unnecessary, so if you just fold them up, an even better pivot. Up until this point, I was pretty confident in saying that this figure holds up, but once you get to the transformation, this guy is officially obsolete. In every way, this guy is better, especially when it comes to the rotation at the leg. His joint here allows this thigh piece to not get in the way when the leg moves out. In other words, beautiful spread. The leg was the robot arm to have this base be maybe the body of a dead angel. Kind of like what they did with Revoltech, you know? I know, I'm a genius. Have you even seen my Tumblr? And the stand actually has one of these. As for the figure itself, every ball joint can be a swivel. Keep that in mind as we move forward, because I'm not going to point out every swivel on the shoulder, which allows for rotation, full 360 degrees. Ball joint at the bicep, bend at the elbow, ball joint at the hips, but the thickness of the thighs does get in the way of rotation. Beautiful spread. That doesn't sound...
Actually, it's Gypsy Avenger.
I'm sorry, I literally forgot when I said that. And we have a letter. Thank you very much, Thomas Lynch, aka TL Lucario, aka TL God, aka TL Warrior. And you say here, and may your aura protect you and your family, which apparently is your catchphrase. Anything's better than swivel here for me. So we have this, pause it if you want to get a good look at that, on the back. And we have this, that's adorable. I believe that's Swivel-Man and Spider-Man as ponies. Remember those? And on the back here we have another one with me as a pony and Madoka Godzilla Prime. And oh my god, is it 1955, because I thought this meme had died a long time ago. Well drawn, I'll give you that, but what can I say that hasn't been said? On the back, alright. And finally, we'll take a look at these Hama beads. Whoa, that looks like it says something, but I'm not quite. Oh, that's cool. Damn, that's great. Oh man, keep doing what you do. Keep on watching My Little Pony. Don't let me or anyone tell you otherwise. And thank you for the Hamas beads. Toothpick and a bit of normal dishwashing liquid. You dab a little bit on that, and then you apply it to the tight area. And the dishwashing soap should act as a lubricant to make the ball joint not stupidly tight. And finally, you get a shorter stand part, which allows for more lower to the ground poses. But popping a squat isn't all he can do. Ball joint at the head can look side to side and look down. I wouldn't recommend you do this too hard, or else you'll chip the paint, which allows for rotation. Can't move back that far. Bicep swivel, tight elbow swivel. Basically anywhere you see a cut like this, such as here, here, and here, that's a swivel. Every ball joint, no waist swivel. Ball joint at the hip allows for a high kick. Can't move back that far. Beautiful spread. Swivel here. Again, any cut like this is a swivel. Swivel here. And a pivot. And the arm posability is pretty much the same as Diaboromon, minus the individual fingers. But you do get a hinge joint, ball joint, hinge joint, ball joint at the antennas, hinge joint here, nothing at the head, waist swivel. That's pretty much it. Get a good amount of posability. Ball joint at the head. And please note that every ball joint can be a swivel, because if I point out every swivel that's on this guy, we'll be here forever. Which allows for rotation. And even with all the spines on the back, you still can do some of that. Ball joint at the hips also allows for rotation. Can't move back that far. Decent spread. There's no real thigh swivel here, but that ball joint at the hip allows you to simulate what was Jobby. And today we're taking a look at the Digivolving Spirits number 4, Angelomon. And this figure can transform into Tailmon, but we'll get to that later. So have you guys heard of this whole concept that number 4 is death?
Seriously?
In Japan, the way you say number 4 is literally how you say the word death, as in Shinigami. That's a little reference for all you weeaboos that are watching. I'm pretty sure that's everyone. As unfortunately, the massive kibble is the only accessory this figure has. And if that's the case, I guess we can move on to the posability. Joint here, hinge joint here, and a hinge joint. And finally, for the kibble, a ball joint at her final set of wings. Okay, back to the figure proper. Allows for rotation. No, bicep swoops. Rotation at the tail end of the ribbon. Yes, every ball joint can be. And that ball allows for rotation. Can't move back that far. Kinda messes with the shape of the butt, but the price you pay for posability, right? And if we could get our minds out of the gutter for just a second, there's some joints here that seemingly allow for some shifting movement, but I guess because those joints and by extension the ball slightly increase the range and hip posability. And it also allows for a good spread. Slight thigh swivel, knee, ankle swivel, can move up and down, and working with that up and down on the swivel allows you to get a pivot. So the posability on this figure is great. If the shifting joint at the hips worked a little better, it would be on par with an SH Figuarts. But the transformation of this figure is pretty simple and it won't take long at all. But statistically speaking, you're gonna skip it. So that's what getting cucked feels like. Now they don't mention this in the instructions, but it's way easier to deal with this with the kibble separated. The tail, every ball joint. Shoulder posability is the same as the Angelomon mode, but if you move the shoulder out, I'm actually still on board for the Digivolving Spirits line, but it does make sense that number 4 of the line killed my high expectations. I really wanted to love this thing. I mean, she's not a bad figure, and man, that body. But if I tried to keep up that fantasy within myself, I'd just be dishonest. And at that point, I just have to accept that my love for this figure is... when passion burns like the starlight, it's just a part of the program. The old routine of hello, goodbye, it's just a part of who I am. All my toys and fancy things, they're just ways to ease my lonely mind. Everything in time, my friend, comes to an end. I'm sorry. And shading.
If you wanted that, you could just do it yourself.
Because a Gundam was in it. I know what that is.
Did you say Gundam?
Shut up several times throughout the video, but this is the one that's gonna trigger the ball joint at the head. Every ball joint can be rotation at the arm, swivel here, ball joint at the wrist, and of course every ball joint at the chest, and of course that allows for nothing at the actual waist. And if you can see that, you get a ball joint here, which allows this whole internal pelvic attachment to move all over the place. And that just makes the ball joint at the hips to have that much more range. And it can move back that far. Beautiful spread. There's a ball joint at the thigh there, which of course can double as a thigh swivel. Ball joint at the foot. Of course. This figure was provided to me by a fan. Again, thank you, Dwight Carter. I will take this opportunity to say that you can get this figure as a veteran toy store. Papa's gotta feed himself somehow. Please accept the enclosed gifts and the homemade comic in your free time. Also, you are part of my inspiration to start my own YouTube channel. Happy days, hashtag Swivel here. Well, fuck. This is borderline inappropriate for YouTube. I don't even know if I could show this, but if oh my goodness. I guess that's me with all of the characters that I've claimed as waifu over the years. Asuka, shit, I could agree with that. Thank you so much. And they're from Virginia. I recognize this logo. This has gotta be Professor Kaiju, am I correct? Looks like a little model kit of Godzilla. And we have a letter here. Okay, we got, okay. I'll see you soon, but I don't know. Go check out the video for yourself. Check out his channel also. He seems like he's got a lot of potential as a good toy review channel. And for a parody logo, not that bad of an artist, I would say. Thank you very much for your kind words. I'm glad that you and your wife enjoy my videos, and the best of luck to you and your channel during Anime Expo. This is my second year going, and just like last year, it was a great time, but you guys coming up to me and me getting to meet you, and just thank you for everything. It'll be worth the wait. Primarily used for the transformation anyway, which we will talk about right after we get into ball joint at the head. Every ball joint can be a rotation. Hinge joint at the base of that far. Previously mentioned hinge joint at the wings, and that allows more range for the shoulder ball joint, and that shoulder ball joint allows for a rotation. You can even get a 360 if you remove those wings. There doesn't seem to be any sort of rotation at the bicep, but you do get a proper rotation at the elbow. Bend at the elbow, ball joint at the wrist. Every ball joint can be ball joint at the chest and the waist, and that allows for an arcing back and a crunch. And of course, being ball jointed allows for
ball joint at the hips. Of course, there's that thigh joint, but it does have a benefit in that it allows for a high kick. And the thigh problem also allows for a beautiful spring. And there's no proper thigh rotation over here, but you can simulate it with the ball joint that's there. Bend at the knee, ball joint at the ankle, some toe bends, kinda useless honestly. And of course, every ball joint can be... Look, I wouldn't have been so adverse to saying that word if you guys hadn't run it into the ground. I try to show you guys something significant, something that's important to me. You know, I played Master Chen in a Jago fan film, and I think I did a pretty good job. And in that post that I shared that fan film, I specifically stated, do not swivel spam. And what do some of you guys immediately do? You go to that video, you get your sweaty fingers on your goddamn Cheeto-encrusted keyboard, and you just tip away, swivel here, oh, swivel my wibbles, Jobby. Oh, if I type in swivel in the comments, maybe Jobby will like me. No! Fuck's sake, man. Swivel here. But I can't really say the same thing about the dinosaur mode. And even though this mode is basically a brick, you do get a few moments of posability, such as that pathetic opening mouth, ball joints at these tiny useless hands, and ball joints at as previously mentioned gimp. Check out the link in the description, pick one up for yourself, and rep that big boy squad! Swivel here. Can't really say the same thing about the orange parts on the torso. These parts could definitely benefit from some manual panel lining, but why would I do that? What is this, a gunpla channel?
Did you say Gundam?
Shut the hell up, you experimental green screen effect. Okay. There's really no issues with standing up the figure, and especially posing the figure. There's no accessories on this guy, but he doesn't really need them. The head is on. Before we proceed, let me clear the air a little here. I don't have a problem with the word itself. I just have a problem when some of you guys go to unrelated channels and spam that word. It's not charming, and it ruins potential professional relationships. I'm pretty sure MGO hates me because of you guys. So, fuck you, and swivel here. Rotation at the arm, bicep swivel, and all 7 segments at the arm here have a hinge joint and a swivel joint, which allows for a great degree of posability. Swivel at the chest. Legs have a ball joint, which allows for a rotation. Swivel at the waist. To the arms, each segment here has a hinge joint and a swivel, including the tip of the tail. Posability is pretty good for something that doesn't have actual legs, but because of the unique design, the poses that you can get with this figure are kind of limited. I think a ball joint at the head instead of a plain swivel would have helped with that. Very nice. And the robot mode by itself is very nice. As for his alternate mode, post the first attempt later in the day, probably as an unlisted video, so check your social medias for that. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff, and keep your heads on a swivel. I use that word appropriately now. Okay, if you are frustrated at your own drawing skills, maybe watching me draw will help inspire you. You can check that video out, links in the description. I am the master of plugs. So instead, I give you the ultimate swivel machine. This has got to be my third fidget spinners. They're not a bad toy, okay? P.S. I'm almost 17, borderline big boy, you'll get there. P.P.S. Sorry for my handwriting, not that bad. I've seen worse. Thank you very much, Josie, for your letter, and thank you very much for your swivel machine. I already made it clear that I have no problem with the word swivel, right? Swivel here. Letting you know just to be careful for next time. It says Northwalk, it's Norwalk, California 90651. I just don't want the USPS because they're so stupid to get it mixed up. Hey, check that out. It's a bit that I haven't done in a long time. It's because I haven't talked about Spider-Man in a while. But next time I talk about Spider-Man, Swivel-Man will return. He's still living in a garbage can. And videos are great, and somehow I actually respect you. That is surprising, actually. My username for YouTube, Twitter, etc. is... I can't really make that up, but there it is on screen if you guys want to check them out. And I already know my username is Complete Cancer, and so is my handwriting. Well, yeah, Swivel have mercy on your fan base. Sincerely, Zach. Thank you very much, Zach. And the final letter of the day comes from a Kyle Arambula. That looks good for your own sake, and this guy literally is telling me, bruh, check out my mixtape. I also sent you a couple of drawings, and you saw those drawings already, and he drew a me in Rick and Morty style. That looks nice, actually. And that's gonna wrap it up for the letters of this video, and now we will get to our bigger envelopes. This one comes Texas Mystery Woman. I appreciate it. I'll find some use for these things. What am I gonna use them for? Gundam?
Did you say
This, aka Tommy, and I have to say that you are one of my favorite YouTubers, and like you, I'm also a Transformers fan. Two things I'd like to say in one big word. Keep calm and swivel on. That is something that I have to take to heart because I can't get upset with you guys for overusing that word forever. I have to keep calm and swivel on, no matter what the spammers say. Do you like tennis? My favorite sport to play. U2 wrote his own letter in this package, and another friend sent her own letter recently. Please accept my sacrifices and grant me and my friends access into Swivelhalla. Pretty clever, actually. So clever, in fact, that I want to send you straight there. Like my stuff, you fuck. And his expressiveness is bumped up to 11 when you consider his eye-changing gimmick. Leave a like in the comment if you get that. Was Beast Wars a fetish show? And it's worth mentioning that the joints on his head are really satisfying and nice and tight. In general, this guy is really satisfying to hold. He's nice and chunky and everything fits together solidly. Retro style artwork on there, and on the back you can see his stats. So all the accessories for this mode just adds to the figure's expressiveness. But those accessories really wouldn't do much without Zumbo-ability. And that allows for a rotation. Bicep swivel. Bicep swivel can rotate a full 360, so his elbow bends in. Now, unfortunately, you don't get any hip rotation, but that is made up for with this joint here. Good old ratcheting swivel. Normal swivel here. A really good pivot, maybe a little too good. And each of his claws are on hinge joints, but that's more for the transformation. I'm sure the plastic quality notch, but I would still recommend being careful when you handle these things. They seem a little too thin for my grubby goblin hands. To become his iconic spinny shield. Now that pegs right into his hand, and if you push this long button, it can actually spin. If it doesn't fall off first. I'm pretty sure you can thicken up this peg somehow, but as it is, kind of frustrating. But otherwise, the shield looks very impressive, and the spinning gimmick, once you get a good rhythm, is really enjoyable. Matter of fact, the figure doesn't even feel like he transforms. Everything fits together nicely. Just a solid robot mode. In some unfortunate cases, it might be a little too solid. On some copies of the figure, this joint at the shoulder here is a little too tight. But if you do get a copy of this figure and you accidentally break it because it's so tight, that sucks so much. Takara should really get their shit together, and I recommend you watch this video. It should help you out a bit. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones where all the joints on the figures feel so nice to
pose, rotation at the arms out, bicep swivel down, swivel here. God, his hands look creepy. Swivel at the waist, rotation at the leg, can't move back that far. Decent spread, but if you bend the legs up just a little more, beautiful spread. Thigh swivel, swivel at the knee, and finally, a swivel here.
Thank God. Tell my tale to those who ask, and tell it truly. The good deeds, along with the bad, and let me be judged accordingly. The rest is silent.
Oh. Yeah. The completely visible arms at the chest here kinda make it look like he's begging for something. And while we're here, the mouth is incredibly crooked here. It might be due to the age of the figure. As for his actual arms, they look very emaciated and feel kinda gross. But that's due to that flexible plastic here. What also feels kinda gross are these ball joints at the hips. They seem just a bit too loose for comfort. Fortunately, every ball joint can be, and that's it. But for voucher busting right about now, but I'm all emptied out. So something interesting about the box here. It says that the transformation difficulty on this figure is advanced, a level 3. I suppose we'll have to see about that. Advanced conversion, this is bad common. Stands up pretty well despite those previously mentioned loose ball joints, but once you introduce his weapon, he pretty much becomes completely immobilized. I don't guarantee that I lost some hair over it. And worst of all, it doesn't even spin. 0 out of 10. And as you saw from that little weapon conversion segment, which you did not skip, I refuse to believe you're that impatient. You actually have to convert his hands into normal fists. Disgusting. It is legally required for Dinobot to have creepy crab hands at all times. Burn the heretic! This figure kind of a pain to pose. Arm can rotate. Swivel here. No sort of waist swivel. Ball joint at the hips, which allows for rotation. Can't move back that far. Beautiful spread. No real thigh swivel. But, of course, every ball joint can be. You thought this heavy plastic cape would suck out any potential fun you could have with this guy? You'd be right. However, what Bandai doesn't tell you in these instructions, if you take this leg kibble and turn it on its side like that, it can actually act as support for the weight of the cape. And it actually works surprisingly well. Of course, that means the leg kibble becomes more obvious, but with that cape, who gives a shit? So with the weight of the cape being ungracefully counteracted, the figure actually becomes a lot more fun to pose. Ball joint at this poor excuse for a wing, and they've got a hinge joint here, and a rotation at their base. Allows for rotation, bicep swivels, every ball joint can be, no sort of waist articulation due to how the cape is designed, rotation at the leg, can't move back that far, pretty good spread, thigh swivel, kibble, every ball joint can be completely not removable. There is no escape from this hell. Give up. And of course, the lack of removable kibble is due to his involved transformation. It's supposed to help the Doraemon mode stand up, but he looks basically the same with it attached. It definitely doesn't help with his posability in any way. Nothing at the head, ball joint at the arm, allows for rotation, and also allows his arms to move out. Ball joint at his legs, hinge joint here, and a hinge joint at the foot. And you would think that would allow him to stand up like this, but no. Not even the stand can help him with that. Also, that's it.
No, not another Kirby one.
Imza! And I practice Santeria.
Okay.
Alternate closed toes. Pretty cool how there's a pair of pegs underneath here just for this purpose. The default open toes come out easily enough, but attaching the alternate toes was a bit of a challenge at first, but all you need to do is just gently twist until... And honestly, I could barely tell the difference, despite the figure's constant fumbling over. I can't say it feels cheap. Matter of fact, the figure feels very high quality. Most of the figure here is made out of a slightly flexible plastic. Reminds me of the material that NECA figures are made out of, which makes sense considering David Silva. And that material just means that in regards to this figure, paint chipping and breakage are mere myths. Just like the existence of dinosaurs. The joints seem solid though, which guarantees that this figure can hold a bow.
head, every ball joint can back, rotation at the shoulder, arm moves out, bend at the elbow, hinge joint at the wrist, ball joint at the waist, and that allows for a slight arc at the back and a slight crunch. Every ball joint can kind of be. The hips are technically at a ball joint, but they're so limited that they act as a standard rotation, and they do allow for a pathetic spread knee, swivel toes, and the famous sickle toe has its own rotation. I guess you could consider this a pivot, swivel at the rear. Every ball having a field day with it. The top heavy, tiny leg design of these guys would lend itself pretty well to an Optimus Primal custom, yes? Well, you can always do it yourself. Shut the fuck. And if we're talking about the painting on these guys, there's actually not a lot, but what my knowledge, but they do have a good heft. These guys were clearly designed to be played with, which is made abundantly clear when you go to the Toy Notch official website, and you see that one of their main selling points is their incredible pose ability. Not just yet, my big boys. Almost any wacky pose you can think of getting these guys in, they can pull it off. The only downside to all this pose ability is that I had way too much fun playing with them. I could have spent the whole day taking a bunch of shots of these guys and not get any work done, but hey, I'm a very busy man. Not only are these guys poseable, but simply put, these guys are a stop-motion animator's wet dream. And thank God for those 50 points of articulation, because it more than makes up for the lack of accessories. Allows for rotation, moves out, bicep swivel, swivel at the wrist. No, it's good. Ball joint at the chest. Every ball joint can be back. As if this wasn't enough, you get a swivel at the waist. Rotation at the leg. Beautiful spread here, swivel here. Now, I don't usually say this, but man, these guys are swivel-tastic. And these guys are pretty big, the Miss Prime, and of course, the Toy Notch Astrobots Argus. And as you've seen throughout the whole review, these guys look great together. I am definitely gonna keep watch on Toy Notch. Now, if Toy Notch made some kind of transforming figure in this style, I would instantly come. But as they are, I have no problem setting weekly polls to determine what I review next. Big thanks to everyone who decided to pledge and vote. You can trust me to run a fair democracy. And all I'll say about the winner of this first poll, review more Gundam, ultimately meant nothing. Pathetic. But this letter comes from a probably didn't pronounce that right, but they're from Hawaii. So we've got a piece of fan art, I suppose that's what it is. From the looks of his writing, doesn't look like a big boy, but I've learned better than to judge someone's age by the quality of the writing. I, for instance, write like a 5-year-old. Hello, Jobby boy, Jobby bitch. And hey, I was right, he's 12. Important message. Ever since I saw your videos, I showed it to my friends, JJ and Jet. After they watched it, we just kept saying, put it in my ass, and
Over here.
Oh, fuck it. Benjamin's Prime. And they're from Massachusetts. Piece of fan art, I guess that's a Jaeger from Pacific Rim. Swivel Bravo. We've got a paper Starscream. Just Star. And apparently Starscream is from New York. Who knew? Oh! Well, at least he took the time to censor it for me. Jesus Christ. Okay. Susan, please, I'm begging you. Do not demonetize this video. Do not demonetize this video! Jobby, you made me draw this and also Tumblr. Ah! That's what it says. I didn't exaggerate. Thanks, Starscream. I'm glad my Megatron girl is still making waves in people's pants. Our next letter comes from a Andy Nguyen. He even put a pronunciation guide right there to pronounce his last name, but come on, Andy. I know Vietnamese. Come on. Hope you like art. Hope you enjoy my art. I have trouble writing. First, let me alleviate your concerns. I am over 18 years of age. Curse you for convincing me to start collecting these Transformers toys. You're welcome. Hope you enjoy my art I have crafted for you. P.S. You have no idea how hard it was to resist including a swivel in its construction. Be kind to it. It's not glued together. I don't know what you're talking about, but we will see soon enough. Instagram, is that boy 34? This is not the place for JobbytheHong. Come on. I hope you keep doing what you do. I'm sorry. Gigan drawing, a thing of Altoids labeled hentai. What? I don't know they make spinners this small. That's adorable. And fun piece Dinobot. Okay, let's take a look at his artwork. That's a great little piece of fan art there. It's main Jobby with my 2 stands. I still haven't seen JoJo. Get off my ass. Swivel-Man and the Gundam Ghost. I appreciate that people liked my Swivel-Man character. Venom, a Batman, and the Joker. And they're from Wisconsin. Got a piece of fan art there and a letter. Hello, I hope you're doing good, healthy, and cool things and swivels till the end. Very nice things to wish upon me, and none of them are true. P.S. My age is classified 3. I think he meant number 4. Reveltech Queensblade Nanail action figure. Wanted to use this to make funny Woody pictures. Oh. Oh, is that cum? And now I own a Revoltech hentai Woody. Before I got distracted, what was he saying? Wanted to use this to make funny Woody pictures, then I saw the amount of detail this figure has. I decided to pass and it's been collecting dust. What do you mean amount of detail? Yep. Okay. Not gonna review that. Yep. Oh, even got some down there too. Okay. Final package comes from an Adam hiatus, and they're from Nevada. Oh, this is a nice painting of Greymon. Good job, Adam hiatus. And a jigsaw puzzle. When I find the time between making reviews and not painting Gundam, I'll take a look at this. And we got a letter. Hi, Jobby. I know this painting isn't show accurate and that you won't review the puzzle, but I thought of you while I was making it. You like Greymon, right? Yeah. Keep swiveling, Adam. Higadoosh. I quite enjoy your painting, actually. It's a nice background color there. And I quite enjoyed all of the stuff whoever bought my shirt. It really helps out, keeps the channel alive. Now, if you excuse me, before I take care of the typical fail box mess, I have to prepare my hot glue gun. Side, you'll notice this thingy, which was totally here the whole time. Please don't rewind. This claw weapon can extend and retract at the push of a button. These hinge joints here are actually pretty tight, and that gives the claw weapon a very nice grip. It's not a phase, Mom. All the cool kids are doing it. Coming back here, you'll also notice that the robot mode head is right in between her legs. Now, this situation, the figure feels fine. I mean, these ball joints might even feel a little too tight, and if you position those ball joints just right, of course taking into account the rotating front legs with its hinge joints and elbow, you could actually manage to stand the figure up. That's pretty impressive considering these front legs here are made out of a flexible rubber relating their eye holes. With all these joints in mind, you could get the figure into a decent amount of spidery poses. And did you notice that I was naming all the joints throughout the review? Ball joint, ball joint, ball joint. Recently I checked out my analytics and it told me that most of you check out during the posability segment, so I'm trying something new.
But Jobby, I don't like it.
Hey, at least the size comparisons are still doing well. At least for now. We get into that good old royalty-free jazz. I'd like you to take a good look at these instruction sheets. You see this, my big boys? This is what you would call horny on main. I mean, look at this. She's wearing a cat girl outfit here, and at the bottom, you can see that it just pops out. You know that came out of her butthole. Zimbabwe's are even more noticeable due to the grossly thin waist. Talk about unrealistic body standards, Jesus. This defect is due to the major retooling of the Transformers animated figure. You see, that version had mandibles that actually filled in these gaps. But if you fold the butt flap up, it kinda makes up for the lack of meat, but that kinda limits that waist swivel. Get that out of the way? Oh yes? And you even get a bit of an ab crunch, and an arcing back, and now I see what they were going for. Takari that also remains unchanged are these proper robot hands instead of the creepy crab claws that the original design had. But if you keep these spider legs unswiveled, it kind of gives off the impression of those disgusting pincers. Very smart. And at the arm you have this hole, which the previously mentioned grapple weapon can plug right into. And that allows her to thwip around like a certain friendly neighborhood. Swivel-Man does whatever a bitch.
Mr. Jobby, I don't feel so good.
Swivel-Man is fucking dead. And the weapon can plug into her back. Now for the last poll I did, a certain subset of my subscribers really pulled through.
Review more Gundam! Review more Gundam! Review more Gundam! Yes, more Gundam reviews! But it's not a model kit.
We're taking a look at that one giant robot from Ready Player One.
Actually, the RX-782 Gundam is from a 1979 anime called Mobile Suit Gundam. How could you not know that, you stupid idiot? I've lost all of my respect for you. How could you disrespect the Gundam franchise that way? I've been a fan of you since everything
Thanks to Christopher Guajardo for providing this figure to my P.O. Box dupla builders. I'd recommend you get a fine tip marker and go over those panel lines yourself. Now that's something I haven't thought about in a long time.
Why did you stop building Gunpla?
That's a good question, actually. Life comes at you fast. There is a part of me that wants to get back into at least building and panel lighting my model kits, but painting model kits to the best of my ability doesn't seem feasible for me right now. In between all the filming, the editing, the wallowing in my own self-doubt, I'm sure you understand, right?
Review more Gunpla!
Catch any one of the 2 beam saber effect parts you get. This peg hole connection is a bit tight, so you do want to be careful not to snap that peg.
That doesn't look Gundam-y enough for me.
To complete the iconic Gundam look, you get the classic shield, and this part. Slide it into the hand, and that doesn't look quite right. However, you get another ball-jointed piece, and you could plug it right into there. Now that's a Gundam if I've ever seen one, ain't that right? Well, of course he doesn't care when I try to actually cater to him. With that ball joint still attached, you can plug it into the back. Now if we remove this part and bring in this part, you could store the beam rifle here. Pretty cool feature at first, but there's no real way to plug it into the figure, so fuck it. And the beam rifle can be held with this pair of trigger finger hands. Position the scope and the handle, and the peg at the end of that allows you to... But that's not the only use for this hole. You could stick a Band Like the Machinations Act 5 stand in there, or you could plug it into his tank. To make him look more natural in the air, you get a pair of thruster effect parts. They can also attach to the bottom of his feet. Combine those parts with a shark ton of articulation, and you could get some really dynamic poses. And let me just lift up this ball joint at the front skirt so you can get a good look at that thigh swivel, ball joint at the hip, and there's a hinge joint here which allows for a ridiculous kick, and the leg can move back that far. Hinge joint at the side skirts, that makes room for a beautiful spread. Ball joint at the waist. Every ball joint can be one of these. You also get one of those at the lower arm. Another one. If you think I skimmed over some pieces of articulation, I covered it throughout the review. Fuck off. This longer than normal handle and this curved beam saber, and that just makes beam saber poses that much more powerful.
Excuse me? The beam saber never looked like that in the show. Even the Gundam figure betrays me.
Well, that special anniversary figure does come with extra accessories, but is it worth it? Was it worth it?
Did you really do it?
Yes.
And what did it cost?
Nothing, I feel great. You can see from the title screen here, it's Doom. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's Doom! This is where my true gamer skills are gonna be put to the test, right? Ah, normal. Fuck off. Of Doom. And I remember he mentioned that he played with a controller. I forgot how it came up, but I remember saying, straight face, without any hint of sarcasm or irony, like, I can't imagine doing that. How would it have been possible for you to play it without a mouse and keyboard? And in that moment, I realized when Miguel, who was present at the time, my good friend Miguel, he just said, "PC Master Race" as an offhanded comment, and I just realized, like, holy shit, I've become one of those fucking assholes who like can't accept other people's preferences for gaming.
A primitive recreation of finding a vault, heavily guarded and full of ammo, health, and treasure. I'm wondering, does this play better with modern controls? Well, yeah, with the dedicated strafe buttons, but that's pretty much grandfathered in. I can't think of a port of Wolf 3D that doesn't have that now. Anyone coming at me in the comments about the mouse though? You absolute clowns who still think that Wolf 3D and Doom were always keyboard only? Get the fuck out, you're wrong. Here's the DOS version with a mouse, a thing it always supported. I don't miss the you have to be looking at an item to pick it up bullshit either.
So, I'm gonna try lowering my PC Master Race tendencies in this gameplay, but there are no promises here. So, as you can see, I got... Hey, Doom guy! Yes! Oh, guys, I should mention, that exists. Like, I think a few years after the game released. Oh, I got a grenade. After this game released, they actually... A toy company called Gaming Heads actually went and made a little Doom guy figure based on the secret that you just saw me pick up right now, and I actually bought one. I mean, it was $50, but it's gonna be worth it, right? It plays the Doom theme. A little secret area here that unlocks an entire map based on the first level of the original Doom game. And I guess I should point that out. I've actually never played the original Doom game, actually. I'm not original Doom fan.
I know.
I've never played it, though. I might play it, like, on this channel, actually, just for...
Like that's ever gonna happen. Somebody wants to...
You quickly get the idea that this is not Doom 3. This is, in fact... That's awesome. Hey, my name is Jobby, and... With a snap of my finger... With the wave of my hand... I am now... truly... alone. Thanks to Brian Ortiz for sending him the Transformers Generations Deluxe class. This point is my holy grail. I mean, the poor fuck would constantly get blown to pieces, and I loved him for it. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for him, his ball-jointed head, ball-jointed shoulders, ball-jointed elbows, and ball-jointed hips are all easily removable. I would hope that's also the case with the inevitable Masterpiece version, right, Takara?
Please?
If it does happen, Takara's got their work cut out for them. Not even this figure could figure out how to shorten or conceal the bug leg. The very sight of an insect's wings just compels me to... shave them off.
I'm a murderer.
Pathetic. You could always switch the legs to get a proper knee bend, but that would make the feet wrong, and you do need the legs facing the right way for the transformation to work, so there's no winning here.
Swivel butt. Don't call me that. Why universe hate Wasbanator?
Oh, don't worry, little guy. At least you've got a wrist swivel, and you got a waist. Yeah, the universe does hate you. In this vast and uncaring cosmos, within the cold, dark reaches of space, within that seemingly endless sea of stars, this tiny blue marble, and on that marble, me, with you in my hand, and you are merely just a typical deluxe class size figure. Transform, huh? Wasbanator, terrorize! Look at these panel lines. Not to mention the stinger, which, I'll have you know, is a trait exclusive to female wasps. Does this mean Wasbanator LGBT icon? Boom! Jokes aren't allowed anymore!
It's not funny to me personally, therefore it has serious malevolent intent.
Uh-oh.
You meant
Looks
it.
like I
You
kicked
had
the
one
old
this whole
wasp
podcast.
nest, am I right?
Hitler.
Good. Fuck wasp. Bad price if I do say so myself. With Swivel-Man gone, and the Gundam Ghost gone, there's no one else to be rid of. Except for... oh no.
Just get that off the shelf.
Hey, my name is Jobby, and holy shit, it's already been 4 years since I've been on this godforsaken website.
Just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You feel
Jobby
like
the song.
heaven to touch.
That
I wanna
cowardly,
hold you
lonely
so
idiot.
much. At long last
He's been
my
there
face
since
is
the very
alive.
beginning.
And I thank God I'm alive.
Jobby the song is a dead man!
Could have been enhanced with a lot more red, such as between the ribs or the folds of the skin. This is where the NECA figure has the advantage. I mean, I could always paint the figure myself, but I already murdered that part of me, thank God. At the end of that, you get the iconic botched circumcision. This realistic lump of bloody flesh has the tiniest hint of a tiny face, which is movie accurate. Considering the weight and girth of this massive tail! Seriously, this thing is longer than 12 inches. Most S.H. Matsurat's Godzilla figures, all of the joints here are ball joints, allowing for a great range of posability. And you know what I always say about ball joints? Every ball joint can be a Every ball joint can be a worked. Here, and a special ball joint here that allows the mouth to open really wide. Scabs and those random nails jutting out of his feet. This mangled and mutilated Godzilla design is truly the embodiment of suffering. Just like a certain songbird is the embodiment of my suffering. Naive, pathetic, responsible for those extended musical numbers that no one watches.
I love you, baby. Please do not get me.
If I got rid of him, I would be rid of all of my demons. I'd finally be able to move on and become a better man.
I will kill him.
In order to locate my target, I'll have to visit a Jobby I haven't seen in a very long time. To find a fool, you must simply ask another one. "4 years. You remember what Shade said about the number 4?
Sounds.
So have you guys heard of this whole concept that number 4 is death? Judging by your recent activities, I knew my time would come sooner or later. But the truth is, Jobby, you don't have the ball joints. As long as you worship money, I will always be here. Where is Jobby the song?
What?
Where is he?
Jobby the song! You're gonna have to look deeper than me to get to him. But I warn you now, you won't like what you find.
That boy that you call a heart. He's even sung songs about it. For today it's been what a rare mood I've been. Why it's almost like being depressed.
Surprise, motherfucker! Still bending over to revenue, huh? Good. As any big boy should.
You know who else is a big boy? Shin Godzilla has gotta be my largest SH Monster Arts figure, besides the Kokokyo, and that just makes this figure that much more intimidating. Not to mention he's quite the hefty boy. And I forgot to make the obvious size comparison. Here's the SH Monster Arts Shin Godzilla next to the NECA Shin Godzilla.
That wasn't the only thing you forgot.
No. Not you.
You're weak. You're pathetic. Be careful what you wish for.
No matter how much you run, no matter how much of the past you kill, you cannot escape your destiny. The one thing you will be remembered for after you're long gone. You know what to say. Swivel.
Ball joint here, ball joint here, ball joint here, ball joint here. Can't look up that far and look down that far.
If I die in this world, who will know something of me? I am lost, no one knows. There's no trace of my yearning. If I die,
But I must
in this world,
carry on.
who will know
Nothing worse
something
can
of me?
befall.
I am lost,
All my fears,
no one
all
knows.
my
There's
tears,
no trace
tell my heart
of my
there's a hole.
I will void bum 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 not even hope bum 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 a downward slope bum 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 is all I see. I wear a voice in my mouth, not even hope.
And the slightest chance of afterlight is all I need.
All I see.
Cease the darkness killing me.
Jobby?
I love you, baby. Please do not get me wrong. I need you, baby. But man, that price is wrong. I love you, baby. But I would not want to pay. I guess you really are too good to be
Swivel-Man does whatever a swivel can. Can he swing through the air? No, he can't. I don't care. Look out! Here comes a Swivel-Man. Swivel-Man, Swivel-Man, he's still living in a garbage can. Health and fame, he's so fat. Hentai is where it's at to him. Life is a great big ball joint. He's finding that there's no point to being Swivel-Man. When peace and happiness feels like fantasy, close your eyes and start remembering me. When you're in my arms, there's nothing to fear. Isn't that what you'd want to hear? The truth, I'm sad to say, is love has dispersed over rocks and valleys, gone with the wind. It may not be clear, but you're no longer here. Now it's done before it begins. And the summer days, they fade away like a withering memory. And in your place, there's an empty space in me.
Hey, my name is Jobby, and welcome to another episode of JobbytheHong, where I draw your requests from Twitter. Now, I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I've been away, I've been doing some things, and hey, I might do another gameplay video for you guys sometime down the line. So let's just jump in.